up, RotoGrinders? 3.5 hours nonstop NFL DFS conversation starts right now, taking you all the way up to kickoff. You got us for the first hour and a half block. As usual, it is myself, Dean Shavelson, joined by TastefulTides, Tim Buell, former $1 million winner, Bobby Gomes. Week 9, we're halfway home. 11 games this week. 8 early, 3 late. Really only 1 late. There's 3, but the big game, the AFC preview, possibly, as far as the conference, the championship game, Buffalo and Kansas City. Not a ton of injuries as far as what we're monitoring. Everything seems to be pretty clear and are already settled. Earlier in the week, it was like, man, the cap is tight. The cap is really, really tight. And now we have these cheap running backs, and it makes for a really, really interesting conundrum, really interesting decision points on this slate. A lot of big road favorites as well. Another theme that we have as far as this week. Some quarterbacks coming back that don't necessarily matter a ton. Bryce Young is back. We have J.J. McCarthy's back in our lives. Tyler Shuck is the quarterback going forward for the Saints. They're 14-point dogs at the Rams. A lot going on here this week. Bobby, happy Sunday. Bobby Gomes, by the way, who told us pre-show that he is faster than IKF. If he was a Toronto Blue Jay, the Blue Jays would be world champions.
I didn't say I was faster. I said I would have had a big enough lead to where I would have scored on that play. Yeah, 100%.
You're really savvy.
His only job is to get to home plate. For the rest of his career, that's the biggest spot he's in, and he can't do it.
Yeah, and he was the pinch runner.
As big a lead as you want at third.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer for Toronto. I think most people that were kind of indifferent or didn't have a rooting interest probably default rooting for the Blue Jays. Naturally, you're for the underdog. I
was rooting for the game to end because I had to work, and everyone's in my bar just watching the game, and I just wanted to go home and go to sleep.
Oh, yeah. I was rooting for it. I just didn't want it to end. I wanted to keep going. But because once you're in, you're in. But just like when the game went 18, game 4 was that? Was that game 3 or game 4? I don't recall now. But I wanted to see chaos. I wanted to see the game just never end. And, the shortstop in the World Series, throwing the pitcher and then like the 20th inning or something like that. But yeah, fun series. Baseball is over for the next 6 months or so. Tim, did you care for the baseball last night? How do you feel about the football? Football today, it's I think you even texted me. You told me we were talking. You like this slate. You think this is a fun one?
Yeah, this slate is a lot of fun. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. I think there's a lot of different ways you can play cash games even. I'm glad, for one, that the salary isn't as tight as it was at the beginning of the week. I kind of like having all these options. I think it makes for more creative, building process. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, this is a very, very fun slate. I'm really interested to hear what Bobby has for exposures on some of these stacks.
Yeah, if you missed it, Swift is out for the Bears, so we're expecting Monangai to be the main guy here at Cincinnati. And then Bobby's Patriots, no Stevenson. This season they haven't necessarily loved their second rounder, Trevion Henderson. And to be fair, he hasn't been great when given the few chances he's been given. But unless you think Terrell Jennings or Ernest Johnson all of a sudden are going to be the guys that, pick up the slack, it seems like, at least we're projecting Trevion Henderson to be the top, running back for the Patriots today, and they are priced pretty cheap. Tracy's pretty cheap with the Giants as well. He was one of those guys that was looking really, really good early in the week, and you still can play him, of course. No Scattaboo, bummer for him. And there's a lot of ways to build, and now the build is cheap running backs, so at least 2 cheap running backs, maybe 1 expensive running back, and you get at least 1, elite wide receiver. Bobby, you have any general thoughts as far as this slate? I'm curious if you have any general rules. Hand building stuff, I felt like I was just kind of falling into, well, this is what everybody's going to be doing. You're going to plug in Monangai, they're going to plug in Henderson, and now the lineups just going to complete themselves with the salary you have. Sort of. You're making some decision points with some of the top receivers, when you're deciding between Amon-Ra and, Rashee Rice and, Chase, things like that. But I'm curious, any rules you're putting in? Are you restricting yourself? Maybe one of, Monangai and Henderson, maybe not both, or maybe not. I'm just curious if you have anything.
I was sorry to cut you off there. I was thinking about making a rule at least 2 of Monangai, Henderson, and Tracy for them, but I don't think I'm gonna end up doing that anymore.
So leaning in, going over.
Yeah, just the low value running backs, I think we have value now. The cap, like you guys said, was super tight. I want to take advantage of that. I'm interested in hearing that you're more in on Henderson than Tracy. I think I currently lean to Tracy. What's your reasoning there? Just because he's pretty much the de facto. They're both kind of the de facto, right?
Oh, I think Tracy's role is more solidified than Henderson. It seems like it's going to be Henderson. That makes the most sense, but they haven't necessarily embraced that this season. Were any of the Patriots at the restaurant last night? Any boots in the ground? What are you hearing? Are you hearing rumblings about the Terrell Jennings? I don't know who Terrell Jennings is.
After what happened a week ago, I don't know if we want to hear any more rumblings. I don't want to get contacted by the FBI, right? So
I don't know what happened a week. Should I
NBA people being out?
Oh, okay. I was Tim. I was like, should I ask a follow-up question? I'm not sure what I'm.
I don't have any rumblings. No rumblings.
No poker games that you're involved in. Everything's on the up and up at the restaurant.
If I was at those poker games, I would have been losing. I can assure you that.
Well, I mean, if depending on if you had access to the see-through, tools to it, where you can see everybody's hands and see exactly what to. It's not fun to play. I guess you're just trying to make money at that point. But I haven't done the full deep dive on it, but that is some wild stuff. That is a wild story. Okay. Well, it's good to know that you know nothing about that, and I wouldn't expect you to tell me even if you did. Tim, any rules for you? And me and you are kind of in those single entry streets, the spy and stuff like that. And I haven't built DK lineups yet. I was building FanDuel stuff before the show, and I built some lineups, and I hate them because they seem really, I don't know, easy and obvious. And I'm like, this is probably what I should not be doing on FanDuel. How are you handling that? Are you deliberately – because the third and fourth option as far as receivers are still pretty good, right? Like it's kind of how the build works. And tight ends, I think there's like 5 – it feels like a spend up, at least on FanDuel, spend up for tight ends. One of 5 or 6 guys. I think the tight end pool is pretty good this week. We're getting Bowers back. I assume he's healthy. Kraft still seems probably too cheap coming off that monster game last week, and he's the clear, an obvious top target for Green Bay. Tyler Warren, like one of these days, the Colts are going to have to throw the ball in the second half, in theory. Like he does great stuff in the first half, and then they just chill because they just blow everybody out. Yeah. Any rules for you? Have you built your stuff already, or you're still kind of figuring it out?
Yeah. So I have built some stuff, but I still am kind of figuring out exactly what I want to do. Like I'm not really locked into anything yet. I'm always curious, like where sims are going to go when it comes to flex exposure, because I thought this week would be like a super interesting week just to kind of see that, because we do have so much value at the running back position. But like you mentioned, we also have like a fantastic tight end pool this week as well. And so when I was looking at exposures, it was pretty much coming out completely even between tight end, wide receiver, and running back. Like there doesn't seem to be any kind of difference between, I got 36% running back, 35% wide receiver, and 28% tight end. Like that's like as even as I've seen that distribution, I think, all season. I personally think wide receiver is going to get go down when we actually flip over the cards. I think it's going to be mostly running back and tight end in the flex this week. It's definitely, to start, if you want to talk like a cash game core really quick, you're obviously starting off with Kyle Monangai, with no DeAndre Swift this week, no Roschon Johnson. That's going to be Monangai's backfield against the worst defense, in the NFL against the Bengals. So Kyle Monangai is definitely going to be in your cash game. Jamar Chase on the other side of that game. That's going to be a cash game core piece. And then CMC. in that really nice pace up spot against the Giants. So those three guys are 100% going to be in your cash games this week. But then I think quarterback, there's some decisions to be made at quarterback. I think there's some decisions to be made with your. I do think you're going to be playing 3 RBs in cash this week. So I think there's a decision to be made with your third running back and quarterback and your wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3.
So running back, cash running back, salary is a little bit different. Do you think it's a big difference between Henderson versus Tracy? Is that one of your options? You mentioned Monungai. You mentioned CMC. The third running back is probably one of those two in cash, Tracy or Henderson. Do you think it's a big difference? Tracy feels a little bit more safe, but Henderson might have more upside. Maybe, not sure. And then follow up, quarterback. I think on FanDuel you can make it work with either Mahomes or Allen. And I'm not playing cash. That's what I would do. And on DK, it's probably Dart. Your thoughts?
See, on FanDuel, I completely agree with you. On DraftKings, it's probably Dart, but I also think you could play Mahomes in cash, even on DraftKings. I think that you could play Caleb Williams even on DK at 5,700. So I'm not completely sold on Jackson Dart. I may end up there. It's just I do think that that's not exactly like a lock and load play. Like I do think that there are a couple other options on DK where you could go this week. So I do think that's a decision. I'm kind of leaning Patrick Mahomes right now.
On both sides.
Yeah, on both sides.
Yeah. I don't want to play Caleb in cash. I know Bobby does his deep dives. I know he might be good at some point. Good coach, all that kind of stuff. Good matchup.
He stinks.
There's the deep dive. He's not been good. The results have not been good, but maybe it doesn't matter when you're facing Cincinnati. Cincinnati also, bad defense, also going to be without Hendrickson. I assume is he officially rolled out? He came back last week, tried to fight through it. Also, allegedly in the trade block. Should mention trade deadlines on Tuesday, which is kind of this weird thing where, showcase game or rest guys so they don't get hurt, right? So I don't know how that's gonna work. I know Jacoby Myers is projecting really, really well on FanDuel. And he's demanding a trade. He wants a trade. He's expecting a trade. He's hoping for a trade. And if you're trying to trade Jacoby Myers, well, you'd like to see him have a good game, but you also like to see him help it. So I don't know. I don't know how teams are going to handle such things. And also in the NFL, you just don't see that many trades. Like whatever ones you kind of make up, whatever ones you kind of imagine, they tend to not happen. We might see Jalen Waddle traded. That doesn't really matter so much for today, but the Dolphins. What's that, Bobby?
They said they weren't dealing him.
Waddle?
Yeah.
When they said, I thought that was reported a day or two.
Some report that they weren't. They were probably
the report as of last night was they want at least a first-round pick plus something for Waddle.
Yeah, good luck. Okay, so they're willing to, but if that's what they're asking for, allegedly, I don't think that's happening. Breece Hall, another guy that allegedly may or may not be on the block there on bye this week, but just keep an eye on these things. And you'd think somebody like Breece Hall should probably get moved. And there's been rumors of that to start the season. Not in their long-term plans. Last season, under contract. The Jets are going nowhere. They finally get their first win last week. Shout out to them. Tim, anything else you want to say? What do you got, Bobby?
Why do we think it's Chase in cash over Nakua?
Well, his target percentage is like 40%.
I get it. But Flacco was banged up, right? Having that arm issue.
Maybe that's good because he's just going to rack up a bunch of 8-yard catches. I don't know.
Maybe. They're
going to shoot him up. So at least for the first half, you fire up that Tortorella, I imagine, allegedly. And it's the tricky thing. It's the old tricky thing with the Rams where they have a 29 team total, Bobby. And maybe this is more of a tournament thing. And the Saints, Tyler Shuck, are they going to push the Rams?
No, not at all.
What's that?
Not at all. I don't think they'll push them at all. But that's why I think the flex position might. So between I think Puka and Chase are probably that's a decision point as well as third RB in cash. I think the flex position could go up at wide receiver because people could go to Rashee Rice in that late game, right?
They're going to want it. I think they're going to want a piece of that game.
They're going to want a piece of that game, and he's obviously I think the most solid one. So
Kareem Hunt, but the Kareem Hunt looked good 5 days ago.
Yeah.
And now, he looks a little less good with the appearance of Monangai and the appearance of Travion Henderson and Tracy. Like that's when I was doing my Pick Six show on Wednesday. We were talking about Kareem Hunt. And you could still play him, but, I think Monangai looks better. Henderson probably looks better, but also the game environment. And we think, again, Pacheco's out if you missed it. He's not playing today. Yeah, it's going to be really, really curious how people play it, but I think it's kind of obvious to gravitate to the Kansas City Buffalo game. High and tight, 52.5 biggest total on the board. Kansas City 2.5 point favorite here on the road at Buffalo. You have a take on this at all, Tim? As far as I didn't let you answer. Nakua versus Chase and cash. And,
I mean, it's definitely Chase and cash over Nakua, but I mean, it's definitely a decision maybe in GPPs, but I don't think we necessarily have to worry about that Flacco injury. I mean, yes, we can worry about it, but I mean, I'm not. It's not going to change my decision to play Chase and cash over Nakua. So I think getting to both in GPPs is a really good strategy this week, but it's not something I'm going to be doing in cash games. And I think, I do think that people are going to be playing 3 RBs in cash. I don't think it's going to be Rashee Rice.
I was speaking more on tournaments that.
Oh yeah. I mean, so you think wide receiver and flex is going to get steamed because of that late window?
It's tough with all the running back value, but I kind of understand why it's even. And the best player in the late window happens to be a wide receiver in Rashee Rice. So.
Yep.
That's Alexander in chat. What's up, chat? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn those notifications. Do all those things. Help us keep the lights on. Alexander wants to know if Rice, Tim, is he a DK cash core?
I would not put him in the core status. I think if you showed up with him in your lineup, I wouldn't think it's absolutely horrible. You probably can't. You can't play Mahomes. You'd have to go down to likely Jackson Dart as your QB. Is probably what you would have to do. So you're not going to be getting to Mahomes, Rice, Chase, and CMC. That's just probably not going to happen. So but I mean you could play Rice in cash if you wanted to.
Yeah,
I know who Dean's playing at quarterback in cash.
Well, it's actually nobody because I'm not playing cash today. But who do you think it was?
Jackson Dart.
On DK, I think he's one of the better options. Yeah, I think he's like Tim said, if you have the salary for Mahomes, you have the salary for Allen, it's not hurting the rest of your team. Sure, of course. But Dart has been doing it with minimal weapons. I know he's lost another weapon in Scatterboo. This Niners defense is horrendous. It's not good. And he can get it done with the wheels too. And Wandale's competent. Slayton's competent, I guess. They have some competent pieces. But, the weapons aren't great, but Dart still just gets it done. So I don't know if I'd start there as I'm going to build around Dart, but if that's where you end up, sure. I assume you feel the same way, Tim. If he's your cash game quarterback on DK, it's fine.
Yep. I mean, he very well likely is going to be your cash game quarterback today on DK. So it's I still kind of. I really like Caleb Williams today. I might just save that for single entry and just play Dart or Mahomes, depending on what I want to do at wide receiver. But it's going to be Dart is definitely a really, really solid value option.
And if you get the Mahomes in cash, you kind of a piece of Rice. If you have Mahomes, you're attached to Rice in some way, so you're not fully feeding him per se. I know you're talking about Rice, Mahomes as being your cash game quarterback there potentially on DK and on FanDuel. Okay. Oh, it's Superstar Sunday. What is that? Well, we drop clues throughout the show. You get yourself a week free of RG Premium if you're the first person to tell me what superstar I'm talking about. as the clues drop progressively. Do not tell me in the YouTube. You can guess there just for fun, I suppose. You can banter about it. But the only winner potentially would come from Discord. RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. A lot of our Discord channels are free. This is a free channel. Again, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel. One guess per clue drop. You cannot mass multi-enter. The first clue's already dropped. It's scrolling to the bottom. Producer TJ's all over it. Is Miracle. Miracle is today's first clue for Superstar Sunday. Get in that Discord channel and tell me what Superstar I am talking about. Anything else we should say as far as cash, Tim, before we dive in and do our tiers?
Yeah, I mean, I did get a question in chat, like, should I be playing Parker Washington in cash games? And I think the answer is likely yes. If you need the value, he is definitely one of those strong value wide receivers. Now, do you absolutely have to play him? Like, is he a core piece? I don't think so. It really kind of depends on what you do with the rest of your team. But if you need that salary savings, he's probably the best. He is the best wide receiver under 4K on DK. So I think that's something to talk about. And Juwan Jennings at 4,300. This is a person that I am worried about with the injury status. Like, he is so banged up.
Ribs,
now, yeah. I mean, he's got multiple body parts. This is a spot where I am a little bit concerned here with his injury. Now, if he's going to be healthy, this is obviously a fantastic spot and fantastic game environment and fantastic price. So that piece right there is the one that I am most concerned about. I'd probably want to play just one of these value wide receivers, and that player is probably going to be Parker Washington.
It was like 2 weeks ago or so for Jennings when he had a shoulder, he had ribs, he had an ankle. So maybe I think he's getting healthier. I assume he's feeling better. 7 targets last game. We did see the return of Kittle.
I'd almost rather pay the $800 for Wan'Dale Robinson, who's going to be on the field every snap.
Yeah. You're going to have on your cash lineup on DK, you're going to have at least one of, right? Jennings, Wan'Dale, and Parker Washington. Possibly 2. I guess you could have 2, depending on how you're building things.
It depends really what you're doing with QB, tight end, but yeah. I'm seeing Zacchaeus hitting some lineups too. I don't feel great about that personally. I would strongly I like the matchup better for Zacchaeus, but I think Parker Washington is the superior wide receiver. So I would spend the little extra money on Washington. Zacchaeus is fine, I guess, in Caleb doubles or Caleb triples, but I don't want to play him in cash games.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's open up our tiers. Myself and Tim, we were texting about this last night, kind of bounced some ideas back and forth. I completed this. Tim, I took mostly what you said, and I think you threw out football movies. We power ranked football movies. This is where I bring in Bobby, and one of these I picked as an homage for Bobby. You'll be able to figure it out pretty quickly. Who made the board? But chat, let me know as well. You can play along. Bobby, you've seen movies before. What is your favorite football movie?
I think it's Remember the Titans, probably.
Yeah, it's pretty chalky. Yeah, I would say it's pretty chalky.
It's probably the chalk.
Yeah, it's not Bobby Boucher. I
knew you were going to go there. Yeah, The Waterboy is fantastic. I think Josh Allen and his wife were Bobby Boucher and the crazy girlfriend for Halloween.
For Bulk, yeah.
Yeah.
I did see some of the Halloween. The best Halloween costume was, I guess it was even a costume. I don't know, but I don't know if you saw what the Chargers tweeted out with Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen was having himself a good time. Did you happen to see this picture? I feel like it was one of those photo booth things. And I'm not sure if the social media person saw it or just didn't care, but Keenan Allen was having himself a good time at the party. But Justin Herbert was also in the picture. And is it Madison Beer? The kids talk about her. Is that the person's name? Madison? Is that his lady friend?
I've heard of that person, but I'm not really sure.
Okay. Tim, are you on top of the pop culture? Are you aware of this? Yeah.
I'm not.
Tim doesn't even have Instagram.
It's true.
I mean, I don't either. Well, I did create one, but I never actually did anything.
I followed you. You never followed me back.
Well, I don't follow anybody.
Here.
You follow me.
You're a follower snob. You're a follower snob.
No, I just don't go on Instagram.
On Twitter.
I wouldn't call myself a snob. I just don't do it. It's not something I partake in. Nobody follow. How many people? I didn't realize I actually had somebody follow me. Now I feel like there's some pressure. I got to put some stuff out there on the gram. Let's see. Necessary Roughness. That is an old movie. Necessary Roughness, football movie, being thrown out there in the chat. Rudy's getting some love. Any Given Sunday getting some love as well.
Any Given Sunday is probably my favorite now that I think about it, but not remember.
Al Pacino's halftime speech.
Easily my favorite. Yeah.
You might like the board, Bobby. This might actually you might actually approve of how our board's playing out because yes, some of these movies may or may not have hit the board, but we can go ahead and Varsity Blues didn't make it, unfortunately. No whipped cream bikini, no Billy Bob. But all right, let's give the board a reveal, and you can let me know, Bobby, how you feel about this. And this is basically me and Tim are in on this for the most part. But you're right. Any Given Sunday is the number one movie.
What is this?
What?
I have nothing to do with this list.
What do you mean?
This is not what I said at all, Dean.
This is why I don't even partake in this.
Yeah.
Because I know Dean.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
What were you anticipating that you didn't get? Tim, you realize you can't put everything on the board.
Well, no, I'm pretty sure like the first 3 movies that I wrote, you aren't even on the board.
No. The first 3 movies you wrote were Any Given Sunday, Remember the Titans, and Rudy. And 2 of those 3 are on the board. And
Rudy's my number 1.
Well, Rudy's too good to be in the
You can't just throw out my number 1, Dean.
You know he was offsides, right? I don't want to ruin it for you, but he was
still. I mean, it's the movie, Dean.
Joe Montana poo-pooed that movie so badly. He hates it. We basically had those 3 in the same tier, and they're 1 or 2s. Like I like Rudy as much as the next guy, but you can't put Rudy. It'd be besmirching. It'd be insulting to put Rudy in the 3 hole. So we can only pick 2 of those 3. That's just how it works, Tim. That's how you got to build the board. We do have Any Given Sunday number 1. Remember the Titans 2. Replacements. Yeah, it's a silly movie, but it's fun. It's fun. If it's on, you're not going to be upset. It's good to have in the background. Draft Day is completely absurd. I don't know if you guys seen Draft Day before. The trades that are happening, the things that Kevin Costner does, not even the GM for the Dolphins would consider doing. It's wild. It's fun though. It's silly. And then I assume Bobby, being a big Patriots fan, I just assume this is always playing in Bobby's household. 80 for Brady. Are you a big fan of 80 for Brady, Bobby?
I've never seen it.
I've never even heard of these last 2.
Draft Day with Kevin Costner. He's the GM for the Cleveland Browns.
Nope.
You've never seen this before?
Never.
Oh, it's worth seeing. You should see it.
I've seen the preview of it, but I never watched Draft Day.
Yeah, it's completely unrealistic. It's kind of ridiculous.
I would flip the Replacements and Remember the Titans. Because you're right. Remember the Titans is the chalk, and I think the Replacements is a better movie than people kind of give it credit for. So yeah.
Apologies to Air Bud, Golden Receiver, did not make the board. No Little Giants also considered, others receiving votes, but again, you can't put everything on the board. That's just how that goes. Okay, we are going to throw some teams in some tiers. We have 22 teams. We have 11 games. Very first one, coin toss batch day. We had the coin toss. Bobby, you did not win the coin toss. Tim won the coin toss. Just so you know. Tim chose to receive, so he is going to go first. Denver, Houston, 40.5 total, lowest total on the board. We are getting Nico Collins back for the Texans. Tim, I think this is like the least interesting game on the slate because that's the way the Texans games tend to be. Although Stroud did get loose last week, good for him. He had a good
I said that, and you poo-pooed me, and I lost points, but just throwing it out there.
Well, we can't do that.
You didn't, because we challenged and I put him up top. You didn't lose any points because that was my top stack.
There you go.
Okay.
See? Use your challenge wisely.
I want my poll the audience. Well,
and TJ now has the ability to poll the audience. So that's something he didn't have in the past, but recently he has the power. Tim, Titans, Broncos, where are we throwing these teams?
Well, this is a pretty easy one to start off with. Denver and Houston, really low game total. So it's definitely not a game that we're going to get interest in. No Surtain for Denver, so I think Nico Collins is a somewhat interesting one-off. But in terms of stacks here, both these teams are at 80 for Brady.
Bobby, both teams in tier 5. What say you? Agree? Disagree?
I agree. I agree with the Nico Collins take as well. You remove Surtain, I think he's probably someone at 7,100 who in tournaments is interesting to get to over the field, but not really anything else from this game that I have interest in. And from a stacking perspective, 80s for Brady is probably where I'd have both.
Bobby, do you know what 80 for Brady is? Are you aware?
I know what it is. Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah,
okay,
my mom went and see it like the first night it was out, and with my grandmother, and I
feel like I was wondering like who's the target audience for this, and I feel like your mom and your grandma probably were the target audience.
Probably were the target audience, correct.
So I'm glad they supported 80 for Brady. Defensive struggle right out the gate. Both you guys agree that we're throwing both teams in 80 for Brady. Next game is the Bears. The Bengals. One of the biggest totals on the board, 51.5. It's high and tight. Bears on the road here, about a 3-point. Favorites, we are expecting Joe Flacco, despite a scare earlier in the week, a scare that we might play. Browning might have to come in, but we're assuming now that Flacco is going to get he'll get juiced up and he'll be good to go to play today. Caleb, one of the more popular quarterbacks as well. Monangai, one of the most popular running backs, if not the most popular running back on the board. The absence of Swift. Bobby, how are we handling the Bears and the Bengals?
Yeah, definitely. Just from like the cash build, Monangai and Chase are going to be very popular. In terms of stacking, I don't love Caleb. I know he's going to be pushed out just for reasons like he's 5,700. He's obviously attached to Monangai. This defense is terrible. There's Rome, there's DJ Moore, but I don't love either of those two players or getting to them. I'm going to put them in Remember the Titans, the Bears. People might go higher, but it's really just Monangai being a fantastic play. And I think there's better quarterback plays than Caleb. Like, I would rather get to Mahomes. I would rather get to Jackson Dart. I might even rather get to Jordan Love. So yeah, as from a cash, like Daniel Jones, I would rather get to. So I'm going to put them in Remember the Titans. And then with Cincinnati, Chase is such a strong play. I guess I'll put them in Remember the Titans too. I'm not trying to get to Flacco, but the Chase Monangai game stack, I think, is chalky and fine. There's not really much on the Bengals that I want to get to, though, outside of like Jamar Chase. I'm not looking to play Chase Brown with all the running back value. T. Higgins is at a pretty good price for tournaments of 5,900, but do I really want to double stack Flacco here with the arm injury? Probably not. The two main plays, and it's just because they're individual pieces in a game stack, would be Monangai and Chase, and that's why I'm ranking these two teams that high.
And if he's injured, Flacco, I don't know if he's playing dinged or whatever. Maybe it's easier for him to throw short than it will be to throw long. So maybe might hurt a guy like Higgins. And who's to say how hurt he may or may not be? But and I guess there's a non-zero chance he just taps out at some point in this game. But I assume we're going to get 4 quarters of Joe Flacco. It's interesting. Bobby didn't necessarily talk glowingly about these teams, Tim, but both ended up in tier 2. And Remember the Titans. What say you?
Yeah, I'm really kind of debating between tier 1 and tier 2. I am going to put the Bears in any given Sunday just because I'm pretty high on Caleb this week. I'm pretty high on Rome Odunze as well. Obviously, we're going to be getting to a ton of Kyle Monangai guy also at a really, really cheap price. So I am going to put the Bears in tier 1. I guess I'm fine with Bengals and Remember the Titans, but they're really close to a tier 1 team for me. So, but I'm going to lead them and Remember the Titans. I think we can play some Flacco. I was looking at the blitz. I ran 150 heat teams in the blitz before the show, and the blitz is putting out a lot of Flacco here. So I do really like this game a tons, but I am going to leave because I agree with Bobby. There's a few other quarterbacks that I'd rather play over Flacco, so I'm going to leave the Bengals and remember the Titans.
I agree with Bobby as well as far as not putting the Bears in any given Sunday. I have a little bit of a bias against Caleb. I don't really want to play that. I'm not saying you can't. I understand he's in like chalky Caleb. Do I really want that? I get the matchup's great and all that. He is an interesting play if you're not playing Manungai, I suppose. Doesn't mean you can't play them together. I guess you can. But it's an interesting leverage move, I guess. But yeah, point goes to Bobby. We're going to keep the Bears in. Remember the Titans. I see a lot of other, football movies being thrown out here in chats. Friday Night Lights, great. Yeah, it's a great movie for sure. Joshua says Draft Day is a great airplane movie, and I agree. It's not necessarily a huge compliment to say a movie is a great airplane movie, but I would agree it's a good airplane movie. Oh, we got a scoreboard. Look at that. Look at TJ. He's on top of everything. Okay. Oh, let's go ahead.
Bobby, are you getting to any Chase Brown?
No Chase Brown currently. Actually, I am getting to some, but under the field and 150, which is 5%. I'm getting him at 3%. So,
yeah, I just think he's an interesting way to play into this game. It's going to be extremely low owned. I saw a commenter in chat about that. I do think Chase Brown's a really solid GPP play.
It makes sense for the way the Chicago run defense has been. It's just the opportunity cost is really tough on the slate at running back.
The other thing is they're playing P. Ryan more than you want them to. Chase is not getting the chunk that he was getting last year. Chase Brown, that is. Doesn't mean you can't play him, but P. Ryan's been out there for, a decent amount of, snaps. But the second clue for Superstar Sunday is scrolling. TJ is dropping the second clue. It is a sign, miracle, and a sign. So I see some guesses coming on through. In the live stream chat to get himself a week free of RG Premium. Kurt Russell. Now he stars in the movie Miracle. I don't know if I don't know what sport was he a superstar in. Kurt Russell, I'm not sure. Walter Payton, Roger Staubach. Oh, Tom Brady. Doug Flutie, superstar. Eli Manning, Kurt Warner. Of course, Kurt Warner from American Underdog. Almost made it in the 5-hole for me. Not a big fan of that movie. Okay, Frank Wycheck. I understand what you're doing with Miracle, but not a superstar as well. But yeah, get your guesses in to the Discord channel. Tim, you're back up. Third game, San Fran, Giants, 48.5 as a total. Mac Jones is back. Mac Jones is quarterbacking once again for the Niners. Brock not quite ready to go. We talk about Dart being, at least on DK, looking like a pretty good DK price. And, for cash games when it comes to quarterbacking. Tyrone Tracy, more popular earlier in the week after some shuffling when it comes to some running back, injuries. Now he's kind of fallen back a little bit. Certainly doesn't mean you can't play him. You can even play him in cash, I suppose. Sure. And then you got Wandale and Slayton. Slayton's been terrible this year on the record. And I saw Theo Johnson, another guy that was hitting a lot of stuff earlier in the week, but I do think there's a real opportunity cost to tight end this week. I think there's amongst the 5 or 6 that look pretty good. At least one of those guys is going to get home. Giants, Niners. Tim, what do you got?
Yeah, both of these teams are going to be in any given Sunday. So yeah, I do like this game a little bit more than the Bengals Bears game. So this game has to be tier 1. I think you can play both the quarterbacks. You obviously can play both the running backs. There are wide receivers on both sides of this game that we can get exposure to. I love playing dart doubles here. Like maybe a Theo Johnson and Wandale Robinson, Slayton and Robinson, something like that. I agree with you, Dean. I would only play Theo Johnson like as part of like a stack. I don't really tight end is so strong today. So I would just hope that this whole game just goes off and, we get exposure to Theo Johnson that way. But, this game is projected for the second most amount of plays, according to Cardi's The Blitz. So this is going to be a pace up spot. This is just a really fantastic game, and I think we should be building into this game in multiple different ways. And it's really affordable outside of CMC. But he's such a such a high volume play, we don't mind paying that price tag. So this is a absolute top tier game for me.
Should have mentioned Kevin Roth put the work in, but nothing really eventful weather-wise. This is the time of year where things start to get a little bit dicier. But it's yellow in Green Bay, some potential wind. But, it's going to be cool in Buffalo in the 40s, but that's nothing extreme. I don't think there's going to be much as far as wind either. I did drop the link in chat, but pretty uneventful when it comes to weather today. What do we think, Bobby? Do we agree? Both teams hanging out with Lawrence Taylor and Al Pacino? Well, Lawrence Taylor, it makes sense. The Giants would be in any given Sunday. LT, of course, was in that movie. Giants, Niners.
We are in agreement. I love Jackson Dart today. Tracy, he hit on Wandale and Slayton. Theo Johnson, I probably have a little bit more interest than you guys. 3,500 for Theo Johnson. Going to be chalkier earlier in the week, but it seems like now Kittle, Warren, Kraft, Bowers. People will try to get Laporta and Kelsey, I would imagine, too, as well. So I think he's going to get squeezed a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but that's just my opinion. So I don't hate Theo Johnson. On the San Fran side, I think I think the stack in itself, Mac Jones, McCaffrey, and Kittle is great. I do have worries, though, with Kittle and Juwan Jennings as possibly being bad chalk. We talked about Juwan Jennings being banged up, and Kittle, there's so much opportunity cost at the tight end position. He is 4,800, though. And then McCaffrey, too. Like, I'm definitely playing McCaffrey, but a lot of opportunity costs at running back as well. So I think you have to. McCaffrey's a very, very strong play. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
the other two I have question marks on. But I do like the Mac Jones stacks.
You talk about Theo Johnson possibly getting squeezed. I think he's the best tight end option pretty clearly on paper when it comes to like tight ends that are 3-5 and under. Yeah. And it's like he's in his own sort of, I don't want to say tier, but like, and then you're deciding between Kittle and Bowers and Kraft and Warren and Kelsey and Gadsden. And like those guys are going to sort of eat at each other. Yeah. Is there another tight end that's around 3-5 that you could say, well, if you're not playing Theo Johnson and you're punting, you play Loveland, Hunter Henry?
Hunter Henry
at 3.7. I was thinking he'd get squeezed just because of the price tags on like Kelsey, right? On Kittle, like 4,800 and 4,600 for these guys, especially Kittle. Like
it seems underpriced for Kittle historically, 4.8. Yeah. If Bowers is healthy, and we don't really know that, but we're assuming so, if there's no brace, like $5K for Brock Bowers, this guy was one of the best all-time, rookie seasons ever for tight ends. What is one?
Florida is 4.3 too.
Yeah, I like him fine, but my counter is it's not that much more for Kittle, who I feel distinctly better about. It's not that much more for Bowers, who I feel distinctly better about. But yeah, monster team total for Detroit. We'll talk about them soon enough. And they also tend to, unlike Green Bay, unlike Indy, they tend to go for the throat. They tend to sweep the leg. They like to run the score up on opponents. So especially divisional opponents, they don't like Minnesota. All right. Next game up is Bobby. It's the Chargers and the Titans. 43.5 is the total. Chargers on the road, West Coast to East Coast, 1:00 start. Despite that, they're 9.5-point favorites on the road. Titans. It's been a tough season for them. You got cheap receivers, Iomanor and DK, if that's something that does something for you. But Dahl is, I don't want to say kind of lost running back wise. Again, he's our guy who looked better earlier in the week. Kind of falling back a little bit, but certainly a good spot, and he seems to be the clear number one. Herbert's great. A lot of target options with McConkey, Allen, QJ, and the rise of Gadsden. Bobby, where do we want to place the Chargers and the Titans?
So I feel like I should like the Chargers more, but like you said, the options become an issue, right? There's just so many guys they can go to, whether it's Gadsden, McConkey, or Keenan Allen for Herbert. And then I worry about the Titans really being able to push back. The Titans are going to be in 80s for Brady for me, no real interest. And then I'm going to put the Chargers, who I think more people would have higher, in the replacements, just because picking those stacking options is relatively difficult when we have more condensed target trees, I would imagine.
It's really a bummer that the Titans could not make it to Remember the Titans. Not even close, because they're just so horrendous. Tim, any issues with Bobby's placements?
Yeah, so definitely the Titans are an 80 for Brady. That's a pretty easy one. I was thinking the Chargers might be interesting today, but I just don't see how they're going to get pushed. So outside of Vidal, I really don't have any interest. I guess if you're playing in like the Millie Maker, you can get to some Herbert stacks, but it's nothing that I'm going to get carried away with. So I'm fine with the Chargers and the replacements.
Can you talk yourself into Gadsden being the top tight end, beating out Bowers and Warren and Kraft and Kittle? I guess it's possible. Like, he's done it before.
Yeah, but he's done it before. I mean, I don't think I can go there. I'm trying to see how he's simming. Getting to I'm getting to about 7%, so slightly over what we have him for projected ownership. I mean, there's just tight end is just so strong today.
Let's give the people a third clue for Superstar Sunday. The first two, Miracle and the Sign. Some guesses coming through. Magic Johnson tweeted out the Dodgers are in a really good position now to win the World Series. Just tweeted that out this morning. It's not Carson Palmer or Calvin Johnson. It's not Tim Tebow. Superstar Tim Tebow. Come on. Superstar Sunday. Third clue is Bean. Bean is the third clue. It's also not Usain Bolt. Some guesses coming on through: Brett Favre or Christian Laettner or Shaq or Michael Phelps or Herb Brooks, who was the coach for the Miracle Olympic team. I can see what you're doing there. It is not Herb Brooks. All right, Tim, you are up next. The Falcons, the Patriots. 45.5 is the total. Patriots are 5-point favorites here at home. Atlanta just completely embarrassing, losing by not just losing, but just getting mollywopped by the Dolphins last week. Bijan was horrendous. The entire offense was horrendous. Mooney was terrible. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? Am I losing my days? It wasn't happening that long ago. Penix is quarterbacking the Falcons today. Bijan feels like, I'm curious, you have the sim stuff, Tim. I'm curious where Robinson is simming because like just nobody's going to play him. And it's like the double whammy of, recency bias. And the Patriots have been just phenomenal this year versus running backs. God, I don't want to butcher the stat, but I think it's like since 1950, they're the only defense to allow 50 yards or less on the ground, like the first 9 weeks or 8 weeks of the season, whatever it is. They've been historically incredible versus running backs this year. And then we have Trevion Henderson, who we think, I know Twitter wants to make it happen. They're very angry that, Ramondre Stevenson's been playing over him mostly this year. But the second rounder is well positioned today. Atlanta, Patriots. Tim, what do you got?
Yeah, if you go double premium at running back today, or just go one premium running back that's not CMC, you're going to be very, very unique. Now, I'm only getting to 8% of Bijan Robinson. It's obviously not a great matchup, but I think the talent is there and there will be no ownership. Getting to some Kyle Pitts as well. I think Drake London is always interesting. So I think there's enough talent on this team to keep them out of the bottom tier, but I don't love them. So I'm going to put Atlanta in draft day. And then New England outside of Trayvon Henderson, like you can always play May. Maybe you can pair him with Hunter Henry, Diggs, something like that. But again, not really outside of Henderson, not a team that I'm really getting that much of. So I think I'm going to put New England also in draft day.
Both teams in the 4 hole here, Bobby. Any issues with Tim's suggestions?
So I think I'm fine with the Falcons. I think he did a really good job breaking that team down. In terms of the Patriots, I'm going to put them in the replacements just because basically Drake May has rushing equity. This is a fantastic matchup for Diggs. Henry, the opportunity cost of tight end is difficult, but he's also right above the he's right above Theo Johnson, like we said, at 3,500. He's obviously a favorite weapon of Drake May. And then Travion Henderson, like if he's the guy, he's getting all the touches. Like I think he's a very strong play. I like playing this team as a stack. I won't have a ton. Like I'll probably be overweight to the Patriots relative to like what their ownership is, but I don't think it's going to be that high. So the replacements is fine for me.
Is Travion the guy today? What's your take, Bobby?
I wouldn't imagine why not. His pass blocking has gotten better. I think that was one of the main things that kind of held him down in college. He was a good pass blocker. I think they're going to have to try to make it his day today, because are they going to rely on Terrell Jennings? Like, I don't think so. So it's the replacements for me.
Yeah. And you have to think they want it, right? Like they want him to succeed. This is a second round pick. The entire, anytime they tweet about Travion Henderson, people are just whining. I saw some of the responses when they said, shout out to happy birthday to Travion Henderson. And everybody's like, are you going to give him a touch for his birthday? Is he actually going to get the ball for his birthday? It's the same joke over and over again. And, the fan base is clamoring for this guy to get loose. And you saw him, I think his first touch in preseason, I think he scored a touchdown. It might have been a kickoff return. I don't recall. But, certainly the talent is there. Second round running back. So I'm trying to find a way, Bobby, to be – I don't really want to play Caleb. You probably heard that. I'm not sure about Dart. I like Dart. I think he's fine, but he's going to be really popular. If I'm going to get away from Mahomes and Allen, who I'm trying to get to, like who's that other quarterback that can potentially be a slate breaker or like a top 2, top 3? Is it Drake May? Because I'm trying to figure out – because, you can kind of go through it. You can pick Jordan Love. Is he going to get pushed? He might get 3 or 4 first-half touchdowns, but can you see the Panthers actually punching back? Probably not. New Orleans will talk about, we certainly like the Rams. Stafford could put up 3 or 4 first-half touchdowns. And then what? Just hand the ball off the rest of the game? Now, goofy things happen. You never really know as far as how the scores go. I think it's May as like the guy that could potentially – Daniel Jones is the other one. Is May a guy that could be at the top quarterback on this slate is sort of what I'm asking.
I think just because of the rushing equity for sure. I would rank him behind Mac Jones, Jordan Love, and Daniel Jones, though.
Behind Mac Jones? Okay.
I think Mac Jones, just because of –
he's cheap.
That, just like Tim said, this game's supposed to have the most plays. It's very condensed, right? Like, we know who the ball's going to. McCaffrey, Kittle, Jawan Jennings. Jordan Love isn't as condensed, so that's why he's probably second to me, but I really like Tucker Kraft. He might be the tight end that actually does end up getting squeezed. They're not going to push back. That's the issue. Daniel Jones versus Pittsburgh, I think he's very solid. That game should be back and forth. Neither team really playing great defense. And then there's May, who's getting an Atlanta defense that has been fantastic outside of last week where they got shredded by the Miami Dolphins.
So weird.
Yeah, at home. May, with his rushing equity and the way he's been throwing the deep ball, I think he's definitely someone who's in consideration. And the numbers for a guy like Diggs this week should be pretty good versus the Falcons. And Diggs is going to get going here soon. So, yeah, I like May, like Diggs, like Henry, like Travion Henderson. So it's just a matter of, like, I think these other quarterbacks are in better spots that I'm not ranking them higher. Yeah.
You can't do it. I wish you could play some of these tight ends in the receiver spot. That's unfortunate. I just wish that was an option because Bowers is better than any 5K receiver, I think. Warren at 5'5" looks really, Kittle at 4'8", but that's just not the way. That's not the way the game is played. Oh, I got to make a ruling here, right? You move the Patriots up, correct, Bobby?
Yeah.
The price was. I actually agree with you. I agree. I don't really love the stack. I might just play May by himself, but I do agree with you. I think they're in play. They're a little bit better than the fourth tier.
Isn't it difficult to play him at 6,500 by himself, though, with Dart at 5'2", Mac Jones at 5K? Like, it's difficult to not pair him at that
but
price.
That's figuring out who to pair him with. I mean, you can pair him with
it's Diggs today.
Yeah, a lot of times just nobody really separates. I guess Henry's had a couple games where He really broke out, but am I trusting he's going to score a couple touchdowns, which he kind of has to because probably not a big volume day when compared to the other tight ends.
They do work in Hooper too, which is a knock to Henry, I would imagine.
Say it again.
They work in Hooper like enough to where there's so many good tight ends today that that's why another reason why I would lean Diggs and Travion.
I'm going to give the point to Bobby. Bobby, it's a defensive struggle. The under right now is looking really, really strong. It's just 2-0. 2-0 really early. Some guesses coming through on Discord. Greg Maddox, Tim Hudson, Kirk Gibson, Mookie Betts, Kobe, Bean Bryant, Kyle Schwarber, Grant Hill. No winners just yet. No winners. So let's give a fourth clue for Superstar Sunday. Miracle, Assign, Bean. That's the first three clues. Foot is the fourth clue. Get in that Discord. Get yourself a week free of RG Premium. All right, Bobby, you are up to give us the placement of the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers, barely a 15-team total at Green Bay. Big team total for the Packers. But again, the question is, we have a couple questions, not just how much will the Packers get pushed, how much will the Rams get pushed, how much will the Lions get pushed. We'll talk about that soon enough. You tell me. Packers, Panthers, you already touched on Kraft. Do we like any Panthers? Do we like any run backs? Is it an onslaught situation? What do you got, Bobby?
I'm not getting any Panthers. A little bit of Tet at 1%. I'm at the field. 80s for Brady for the Panthers. Green Bay, I think, is interesting because they're not going to be owned. People think that the Panthers won't push back, but the Panthers did. Who they upset? Not the Panthers. Sorry. Green Bay has been upset by the Browns this year. I like Jordan Love. I like the stack today. I'm going to put them in Remember the Titans. If I was going to pair him with anyone, it would be Kraft. I think Kraft is like the easiest one and super good play today on the slate. 5,700, just where everyone is kind of paying in the 4Ks for tight end. Maybe he's the one that actually gets the squeezing by the field. So I don't know. Maybe you want to be over on Kraft. I think I'm definitely going to be at least 2x the field on Kraft. The other receivers, they're not really great options. Like Dobbs, he's fine, 5,200. Christian Watson at 4,400, I think, has a big play upside, and those would be the two. But it's mainly Jordan Love to Kraft for me, which I really want to double Love at the end of the day, but currently it's mainly just Jordan Love and Kraft. And then if I had to pick between Romeo Dobbs and Christian Watson, it'd be Dobbs.
Kraft is a really good price on FanDuel, I would say, where he's 6K. Possibly maybe your cash game at tight end over there. Just kind of building stuff earlier. He's cheaper than Bowers. He's cheaper than I think he's cheaper than Kittle as well, if I'm not mistaken. Tim, jump in here. Packers, Panthers. We got Panthers hanging out with 80 for Brady, and then we have Green Bay in the 2-tier. Remember the Titans. Any issues?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring the Packers down to the replacements. I do like Tucker Kraft. I think Josh Jacobs is an interesting GPP play. He's going to be 5% in a game where they should be, possessing the ball and they should be pounding the rock. So I don't mind Jacobs as like a large field flyer. Tucker Kraft probably is your cash game guy on FanDuel, but wouldn't be shocked if his ownership came down a little bit on DK. And then the Panthers, they're an easy 80 for Brady. So I'm just going to bring the Packers down one and leave Carolina where they're at.
Yeah, Tim, I agree with you. I can't see myself getting any of the receivers for Green Bay outside of Kraft. I don't think Carolina pushes back. I like Kraft plenty. I think you can certainly do a Love Kraft if you want to do that, but I'm really not much else. And the Jacobs thing, like Wilson's been carrying the ball more so of late. Jacobs, you do start with 6 points. He gets a touchdown every single game, so you're starting with 6. I just don't know if he's going to completely break the slate. Okay, let's scoot along.
That'll be the Texans play next week. Just saying. Texans play of this week will be Green Bay.
What do you mean?
they're going to be a good play. I think they're going to be a good
Oh,
start.
I see. That's where I'm going to be wrong. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hope I'm not wrong, but I certainly can be. Absolutely. And I'm just not. You mentioned some of the receivers, like Dobbs. He's got to score at least once. Golden is just kind of buried at this point. Watson. It's just kind of a mishmash, and Kraft seems to be the clear and obvious. Anything can happen on any given week, right? Any given Sunday, but not playing anybody on Green Bay as far as the receivers outside of Kraft, the tight end. Okay, Tim, it's 2-1, by the way, 2-1, Bobby. Remember, you both have your challenges. Neither one of you have used your challenge where you can bring in producer TJ. 50.5 total. It's the Colts at Pittsburgh. Indianapolis, 3.5 point favorite in Pittsburgh. This is. Say it again.
Is it Tim?
Oh no, I think this is this is Tim. Yeah, this is Tim. Tim, you're setting the stage for us. Yeah. Where do you want to put the Colts and the Steelers?
Yeah, this game has a 50.5 total. Pittsburgh's defense is absolutely atrocious. It is not the Steelers of a few years ago. This is a spot where I think the Colts they have a 27 implied team total. This is a really good spot. I really like Daniel Jones stacks here. Daniel Jones, Tyler Warren, Alec Pierce doubles. You can go to Michael Pittman, who's definitely safer than Alec Pierce. So I like Daniel Jones skinnies. I like Daniel Jones doubles. Jonathan Taylor has been a man on fire all season. He's 9,800. I think this is a better spot for Daniel Jones, but you could obviously play Jonathan Taylor. This game is not going to get very much ownership either. So I think this game of these high total games is not really going to be that shocking. So for that reason, I love this game in GPPs. You can run it back with Jaylen Warren. I think you could run it back with DK Metcalf, who at 5,500, I think he's a really solid GPP play. One of these tight ends, probably Jonnu Smith at 34. So this is definitely a really solid game for stacking purposes. I'm going to put both. I'm going to put both these teams in the Remember the Titans tier.
All right. So both teams in tier 2. Taylor, by the way, 11K in FanDuel, which is just. I was trying to find a way to get him in a lineup just to be a little different. He's going to be a very likely single digit ownership on FanDuel, especially in the single entry stuff. But what do you need out of him? He's got to kind of give you another 3 touchdowns at 11K, and he certainly can. He's done it multiple times this season. Metcalf really expensive on FanDuel. 5.5 on DK, a really appealing price. I've heard several people talk about Alec Pierce this week. Good spot for him to catch a deep one. Warren, one of the best tight ends in football as a rookie. He's been spectacular. And many times we've seen the Colts just pump the brakes because they're just shellacking everybody so badly. In the second half, he just doesn't do anything. Bobby, are we any manipulation here? We have the Colts and the Steelers both, and remember the Titans.
I'm getting killed by Broccoli Boy because we've seen him drinking pumpkin spice coffee in New England.
What's wrong with that? What's the issue?
I don't know.
That sounds fantastic right now.
Yeah, what's Broccoli Boy talking about?
I'm not a block guy, but I'm near hitting the block button on Broccoli Boy.
I'm getting close to giving it to him today too. So I got your back. If he starts going too far, he's getting the band hammer for me today.
I'm a big pumpkin spice guy. Come fall in New England. So whatever that says, what am I going to do? In terms of the teams, I agree with Tim. Daniel Jones. My favorite pair with Jones is Pittman. I know it's different than Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is obviously cheaper, but Pittman at 5,900. No one likes to play Michael Pittman, but when he does hit ceilings, it's usually pretty good. Tyler Warren obviously would be second there. 5,500 for Warren. Those would be my 2 favorite, followed by Josh Downs and then Alec Pierce. No Jonathan Taylor really for me. Obviously you can get there, but at that price tag, I'm just there's so many good running backs today. And on the Pittsburgh side, like Metcalf, like it's a strong stack overall. Jalen Warren at 5,500 is kind of becoming like the main guy there. So it's no more like getting Kenneth Gainwell mixed in. So 5,500 for Warren. I don't mind that price tag. Same thing for Metcalf. Those would be my two favorites. I don't want to play Rodgers, but I just think that Warren and Metcalf mix in well for like a game stack if you're running back Indy, etc. So, yeah. Remember the Titans is fine for me with Pittsburgh.
So you got both teams. You're agreeing with Tim.
I'm agreeing with Tim. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I'm a little surprised. Again, I can't do anything. They're both locked in. You guys
I wanted to go under on Pittsburgh, but I feel like
you got a point. You're playing the game.
I should have put Pittsburgh in the replacements just because it's really just Warren and Metcalf. For
so
me,
let's just move Pittsburgh.
Let's just move them to the replacements. Yeah.
Yeah. And Warren's another guy that projected really well early in the week, and he's still fine. But again, he's fallen back with the rise of the other cheapies, Monungai and Henderson and Tracy. And I didn't love the idea of chalky Jalen Warren. Now he's less chalky. I just don't know what his upside is, but he probably doesn't like really severely hurt you. I don't think it should be okay. Checking in on the Discord channel. Any winners? I don't think so. So we're getting some kickers. Adam Vinatieri, Mia Hamm, Diego Maradona. I'll give you a clue. It's not a kicker, but I see what you're doing. I understand why you're saying that.
How do you get to Mia Hamm from these clues?
She plays soccer. She kicks. She uses her feet. Did that make sense, right? I don't know what the other reasonings would be, but I see how you would get to Mia Hamm. Diego Maradona, you should use the hand because of the hand of God. I don't know if you remember that. You got to be old, but Google that one, kids, where he got an illegal goal in the World Cup.
Actually, but I wasn't. I just have seen the documentary or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. Messi, Bo Jackson. Let's give the fifth clue. We might need some bonus clues. We'll see. Fifth clue is dad. Dad is the fifth clue. Get in that Discord channel and tell me who I'm talking about, what superstar I'm talking about. Miracle, Assign, Bean, Foot, and Dad. All right. Bobby, you're up. It's the Vikings. It's the Lions. We're talking about a pretty big total, 47.5, but the Lions are monster favorites. 9-point favorites. We're going to see J.J. McCarthy here quarterbacking Minnesota. How do we feel about the Lions and the Vikings?
So the Lions, I think we can throw the Lions and remember the Titans because of the team total and the ownership, right? Goff's not going to be owned. Gibbs is not going to be owned. Laporta, ARSB, and they're all really fantastic plays. It's just a matter of this J.J. McCarthy-led Vikings team pushing back. And I just don't really see it. Like, obviously Jefferson would make sense. What's the sorry. For me, like, I don't really have much interest in the Vikings as a team that can push back. So Jefferson, Hawkinson, Addison, they're great plays, but it's kind of like the Falcons. Let's throw them in draft day. Like, I don't know if they can really get it done because I don't know what JJ McCarthy is at this point.
Yeah, the internet's decided he's terrible after like 2 games, which I don't think is fair. He might be terrible, but I don't think we can conclude he's terrible.
I think it has more to do with everyone had this like supreme best ball bias that this kid was going to be like fantastic, and they're just already ready to write him off because his starts haven't been conducive to good fantasy games or winning football. So, yeah, draft day for Minnesota Vikings.
And you have Detroit and remember the Titans tier 2. Is that correct?
Detroit's and remember the Titans. Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah, I'm fine with where Bobby put both of these teams. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs today. I think he's only going to be around 10%. Like, he's not going to get steamed. I really like Amon-Ra as well. I think you can get to some Goff stacks here just because he's at home in the dome. Sam Laporta, I think, is a solid play at 4,300. So I think this team can make it into your builds. I think they could even approach like a stack for 3 max as well. So I do like the Lions here today. I'm kind of in step with Bobby about Minnesota. I had interest in JJ McCarthy early in the week. I just can't get there. It's just I'm not really sure what to do with him. But I think that he's priced low enough, and he does have some decent stacking partners that I think you can keep him out of the bottom tier. But I'm fine with him in the draft day tier.
Yeah, I would have been okay with Detroit in tier 1 as well.
Yeah, they're close for sure.
But both you guys agree tier 2. But if you guys say tier 1, I would have not disagreed. I would not push back on it. I like Amon-Ra. I like Gibbs. I'm still a glutton for JMO. He hasn't caught a pass since week 6.
The coach said that he has to do a better job to getting him the ball and keep saying all this stuff. I mean, if he's going to be 5%, I can see getting to him in golf stacks. And he's still pretty cheap. So I don't mind JMO.
You talk about best ball. He's one of the biggest best ball flops, on the season by Trayvon Henderson, I guess another one. On the season, 17 catches, 289 yards, just not getting any targets basically. And a lot of his targets.
Two highest known best ball guys, Dean.
I have a lot of marks. I haven't really dug into it. Nothing really exciting. I'm going to get into it like when it's playoff time. It's like, okay, now let's see if something's interesting. But I haven't really dug into it. But I think I have a couple decent teams. DK's telling me how much I'm currently winning, and I think I'm a little bit ahead as far as how much I've put in. How about yourself?
Mine are Alec Pierce and Woody Marks.
That's pretty strong. I think that's pretty good. I mean, as long as your guys are still standing, that's good. Because
mine's Drake May and Rashee Rice.
That's very good.
Nice.
That's very good.
Yeah, but everyone seems to be getting injured now.
Yeah, I mean,
KC, so I got Rice, but it was all team stacks with Mahomes. So
it's a skill game for sure, but there is so much luck, in your players, especially for football, to just still be around and available by the time we're at playoff time. Okay. Discord. Oh, we do have a winner in Discord. I was just going to give an additional clue. We do have a winner in Discord. Shout out to Jay Mammon for today's winner. We'll let it be known soon enough, but I was going to give more clues. No further clues necessary. A week free of RG Premium. TJ will juice you up there in a second. Is it still just 2-1? It's 2-1, Bobby. Yeah, 2-1, Bobby. Saints, Rams. This is Tim. I believe this is this is the first of the late window. Kind of pick up the pace just a little bit. 15 minutes. We have the next crew coming in. Beimfohr, Jordan, Neil Orfield as well. So we got to pick up the pace just a little bit here, Tim. I think this is kind of a catch me up. You tell me otherwise. Saints at Rams. Saints are 15-point dogs. Tyler Shuck season's upon us. Where do you want to put New Orleans and LA?
Yeah, New Orleans is really easy. You're just going to put them in the bottom tier, 80 for Brady. Outside of Chris Olave, maybe, and GPPs, I have really no interest in this team. So I think that's a pretty easy one. The Rams have been kind of tricky for me all week. Kyron was like the early week chalk, and I didn't really like him as chalk. But now that he's not going to be as owned, I do have some interest in him. Obviously, Puka Nacua at 8,500. He's an absolute smash play. I think Bobby made some good points at the beginning of the show that, he is, can definitely compete with Jamar Chase in terms of overall wide receiver 1 here. So, he's a great GPP play, but I'm not really going to get to any Stafford here. I'm not going to play any Stafford doubles. It's really just Kyron and Puka Nacua. Obviously, they're, fantastic matchup here. So, I think I'm going to put the Rams in the Titans tier, but they're kind of in between the replacements and the Titans tier for me. I'm going to put them in the Titans tier.
Bobby?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I don't want to play the Saints. Pretty easy. I really like Nacua. I wanted to say I liked him more than Chase, but you guys kind of like swung me the other way. Like, it doesn't make sense that Flacco is going to be – he's probably going to basically be checking down a ton, and it just adds up if you're playing in cash to just get to Chase, I guess. Also, I think that one thing that hurts Nakua is if they're playing with, like, short fields, it's going to be more to – like Kyron and Adams would probably inside the 20 eat in Nakua a little bit. But I do really like Nakua. And that would probably be where I'd have both teams as well. Remember the Titans and Brady.
Adams has been a huge red zone target. The Kyron concern I have is that I think they're more willing to go to Blake Corum if the game is, kind of sort of locked down. More so, I don't know if Kyron would necessarily full on ice it. I can see Corum getting worked in a little bit sooner.
It's similar to the Jacobs situation in Green Bay.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm not going to play Jacobs, and I'm maybe some Kyron. I like Kyron with the defense as a little like a combination plotter as well, but I'm a little apprehensive because I think Corum will get fired up possibly a little sooner than you necessarily would want. Okay, you guys are agreeing a ton today. This is Bobby's board, the Jags, the Raiders, both teams coming back from the bye. Jacoby Myers on the trade block. At least he hopes he is. Brock Bowers, he's back. Hopefully he's healthy. Brian Thomas, hopefully he's healthy. He's been allegations of a wrist possibly making things difficult for him. This is a 43.5 total. The Raiders are 3-point dogs at home. No Travis Hunter, who was another player I liked earlier in the week and just crossed him off the list, which is making Parker Washington an interesting cheapie to make stuff work. De'Ami Brown also expected back for what it's worth. Bobby, Jags, Raiders, what do you got?
I hate how high I'm about to put the Jags. Jags are going to be in Remember the Titans. I don't want to do it, but I'm doing it 5,400 for Trevor Lawrence. It's condensed, right? And we like that. Brian Thomas has to get going at some point. Like his price tag, 6,200. I think this would be a pretty good matchup for him to turn his season around here a little bit at Vegas in the Dome. Then Parker Washington, De'Ami Brown. Like for values at 37 and 3,800, they're not the greatest, but we know like it's Thomas and one of these two. So I think that makes a good bit of sense. Jags also, what's his name? Isn't Strange hurt as well?
Still in the IR.
So we're talking about a pretty condensed stack. I don't want to play ETN. He stinks. So I'd definitely lean the passing game here. On the other side, I would put the Geno stack in the replacements. Reason being, Bowers is a really good play. Quarterback, tight end ceilings are basic. I think Geno's actually in play this week at that price tag.
4.6.
And Bowers being what he is at 5K, it's 9,400 for both of them. The issue is, who else do I play them with? I like Trey Tucker. I like him more than Jacoby Myers. Like if they're getting rid of Jacoby Myers, what's the issue? Why would they play him? And the kid back or whatever off the bye, maybe he's worked in a little bit more. These Geno stacks are going to go in the replacements for me, and the Jags are going to go and Remember the Titans, even though I don't condone playing Trevor Lawrence ever. I guess you can this week.
Yeah, I mean, general rules, like I just don't really play Caleb, but I don't play Trevor Lawrence, and it generally works out.
Yeah.
And especially when these guys are going to, like, people are going to be playing them. I'm not saying you can't, and this is the spot to do it, right? You can certainly tell yourself a story against the Raiders. Tim, any issues here? We have the Raiders in tier 3, the replacements, the Jags, tier 2.
I agree with Bobby on the Jags. I really liked him today. It's going to be interesting to see what the market does with Brian Thomas, because we hear all this chatter about how bad he's been, which of course he has been absolutely horrible. So I was kind of thinking he was going to be even lower owned than what we have projected for. I'm not really sure though, because I think some like the higher dollar stuff, I think people are going to play him because this is the spot for him. If he doesn't do it today, I don't know when he's going to do it. So I do agree with Bobby. I like the Jags passing stuff quite a bit. The Raiders, I am going to bring down one. I don't like Geno today outside of Bowers. I don't really have any interest in the Raiders. So in terms of stacking stuff, I'm pretty much out on the Raiders. So I'm going to put Raiders in the draft day tier.
I'm going to need a ruling from TJ. I'm bringing in TJ. Bobby's up 2-1. Tim making a move here. Wants to move the Raiders to tier 4 draft day. What does TJ say?
We're going to leave the Raiders and the replacements. I like them as a stack today as well. I have one triple stack with Gino where I played Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers, and Brock Bowers. And so I'm going to leave the Raiders and their replacements. And if anybody would have put the Jags in any given Sunday, they would have won that one too.
Wow. Jeez. You guys all like the Jags today.
I don't really like the Jags. I just placed them where I thought they should be placed.
The Jags are last week's Texans, where you have these two super cheap receivers that you can play with their cheap quarterback and load up the rest of your team to make it look absolutely beautiful. And so, like, to me, it's just you play Trevor Lawrence, you play Diami Brown and Parker Washington, you run it back with Brock Bowers, and then you have all the money you want to get McCaffrey, Chase, Puka, Rashee Rice, Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, you can just fill out your lineup with absolute beauty.
All right. Yeah,
and then all your money goes to whoever else is playing in your contest.
It worked.
I hear the case.
It worked with Houston.
It did work with Houston, yeah.
TJ saying scoreboard. Today is Superstar Sunday. We did have a winner in Discord. First clue was Miracle. Miracle was in reference to Miracle on 34th Street. This person's number was number 34. Second clue was a sign. A sign is it's a synonym for designate. This person was a designated hitter essentially their entire career. 3 Bean played mostly in Boston. What is Boston? What's the nickname of Boston, Bobby? You know this, right?
Beantown.
Yeah.
No one calls it that, but yeah.
I mean, it's known as bean. It's because of all the coffee beans. You know, when you have your pumpkin spice latte. Beantown. 4 foot.
That's not the beans. That's not the beans. It's like, is that what the beans are? Are they like actual beans?
Boston baked beans. That's what it is, right?
Beans.
I don't. It works for both. You guys love beans up there. Multiple beans.
I don't love beans.
As a conglomerate, not you. You're an outlier. 4. I initially had footwear, and I thought, let's just make it foot.
That'd be the most disgusting thing I've ever eaten in my life.
Beans?
Yeah.
Overrated.
Do you like baked beans, dude?
You're not a bean guy, Bobby?
Yeah. Kidney beans?
Some beans, Tim, I like, but not.
I'm very pro bean.
I'm pro bean too, but
we'll power rank beans next week. How about that? Stay tuned. Foot. Initially, that was footwear, but I just kept foot, and that was in reference to his team, the White Sox. No, the Red Sox. And Dad, it's his nickname. Initially I had a daddy. I'm like, that seems too easy. Dad, Poppy.
Who played on the White Sox?
It's the Red Sox. I made a mistake there for a second. My bad. Okay. So Tim is down 3-1. He needs a miracle. Last game, most popular game on the slate. Chiefs, Bills, 52.5 is the total. High and tight. KC's a 3-point favorite here. 2.5. There's a hook. Let's have Tim set the board. Kansas City and the Bills. What do you got?
Kansas City's definitely going in the top tier for me. I think you can get to Mahomes doubles here, whether it be Rice and Kelsey, Rice and Worthy. You can play. I think you can still play Kareem Hunt GPPs. He should be getting all the goal line stuff. The only risk really is if they play some kind of, if they give it to like Rashee Rice or something like that, or Mahomes. But I mean, I think Kareem Hunt's definitely going to be the primary guy here. So I think you could still play him in GPPs. I absolutely love Kansas City this week. Definitely going to be getting exposure to them in all formats. So they're top tier. I'm considering Buffalo in the top tier as well. I do love this game. I think I'm going to put Buffalo in the Remember the Titans tier. They're just not quite there, but I do like Allen, Shakir, stacks. I think even though he doesn't really project that amazing, I still think you can get to James Cook, even though this isn't a good spot. We know he has a ceiling at 7,200. So I think you can. I think getting exposure to this game is a really good idea. I think I think Shakir, he's going to be around 5%. I think he's a really, really strong large field GPP play. So I do like this game. I like that it's in Buffalo too. So I think this game stays close and there's going to be scoring. So we like that for DFS purposes. And I think if you're like in the late window and you're behind and you save that $200, you can pivot from Mahomes to Allen and get away from some of the ownership on Mahomes.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Bobby, you're up 3-1.
This is an unbelievable spot for me.
You just agree with him, you automatically win.
The gentleman's block is what we're going to call this. I'm going to agree with Tim. Not taking any risks here because I don't know about what side Dean's on, what goes on behind the scenes in these situations. As you guys heard at the beginning of the show, he did a coin toss prior to us getting on. I wasn't a part of that coin toss.
You got to show us.
KC in any given Sunday. I think Rashee Rice is probably my favorite play in the whole entire slate. I think he's in great spot. Obviously, people are going to look at Puka. They're going to look at Chase, and there's Rashee Rice right there in the highest whole game. And I think I want to get to Rice. Yeah, and then the Bills. Remember the Titans. Allen obviously always has upside. Who you're going to pair him with? Shakir, I would imagine. Kincaid.
Do you have to pair him?
You don't have to. You don't have to. But yeah, I'm going to take the win this week. I'm going to be very happy about it. And be on my way. You know,
a 3-1 score. Shout out to Bobby.
I think it was the pumpkin spice.
Almost a shutout, Tim. It's embarrassing. You're like the Carolina Panthers over there. All right, there you go. Official. It's on the screen. Bobby took it down. A recap. Myself and Tim, more me, but Tim he participated. We power ranked football movies. Any given Sunday, tier number 1. 3 teams in tier 1. It's the Giants, San Fran opponents this week, as well as Kansas City. Most popular tier. Remember the Titans, Bengals, Bears, Lions, Colts, Rams, Jags, Bills. The replacements, tier 3, that is the Chargers, the Patriots, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Raiders. Tier 4 is draft day. Just 2 teams there. It's Atlanta and Minnesota. And all the way at the bottom, hanging out with 80 for Brady, it's the Texans and Denver, as well as the Titans, Carolina, and the Tyler Shuck-led New Orleans Saints. Bobby, your biggest contrarian move of the day is what?
I don't know. I haven't been getting that contrarian. Let me see. Go to Tim on this one. I'm not really sure currently.
Tim?
I think Detroit is going to be pretty contrarian. Amon-Ra is going to get some ownership, but I've been high on Jahmyr Gibbs all week. He's hovering right around that 10% mark. I don't think he really gets much higher than that. So I like getting exposure to this Detroit side, mainly Jahmyr Gibbs.
Several people in chat are saying just play Jonathan Taylor and figure it out. But he's been awesome. He's just not really going to get played a ton just because of reasons. What do you got, Bobby?
I think Romeo Dobbs is someone I'm going to get to a good bit. In Jordan Love stacks with Kraft and Romeo Dobbs. I'm probably going to get to more than the field today, I would imagine.
Has Romeo Dobbs ever had a slate-breaking performance? I guess he did in week 4, right? He did in week 4 against Dallas.
I really can't stand him, so yeah. It says I'm playing him. So.
Yeah, I mean, it happened once this season where he did get there. Tim, your favorite stack? You got a favorite stack for me?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Detroit. I wouldn't mind a Detroit onslaught stack. And I talked about the Colts as well. Daniel Jones stack. I think again a team that's not going to come in that highly owned. That's in a really, really strong spot today.
You play Jones with Warren or Pierce or both. Do you feel somewhat obligated to run?
I might lean on a Daniel Jones just skinny because you do want some of your points when you play Daniel Jones to come from his rushing. So I might just play a Daniel Jones, Tyler Warren, or maybe just a Daniel Jones, Alec Pierce, and hope to get that 1 or 2 big plays out of Alec Pierce that maybe he can find the end zone and he breaks the slate at 4,600. So, and Alec Pierce going to be 5% at most, I would assume. So, really strong one-off play if you don't want to play Daniel Jones.
Bobby, the Rams are 14-point favorites. The Lions are like 10-point favorites. The Packers are 14-point favorites. Which team amongst those three is most likely to like play professional football and care offensively for 4 quarters? Enough of the game where it matters.
The Lions, because they like to step on people's throats.
I think so too. All right. We should have, let's see.
This should be a very high scoring slate, I would imagine.
I think so too.
My dad was over here earlier, and he listens to like he doesn't listen to my fantasy shows, but he listens to like Sirius XM. He's like, yeah, I think it's gonna be a really low scoring slate today. And I was like, oh, when I'm looking at the totals, I'm like,
why does he listen to yours? He's not listening right now?
No, he's at hockey. He plays hockey. 27, a lot of 27, 28s. We have a few 30s. Like, I don't see how this is a low scoring slate at all.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see what the next group's going to say as far as the running backs, but I think they are assembling. I think we're getting an assimilation right now of both, let's see, Erik and Jordan, and I believe Neil should be popping in here momentarily. So let's do it. Let's seamlessly transition. Let's bring in the next group right now. What's up, boys? I don't know if you guys had a thought, if you saw our board. Does anybody have a hot take favorite football movie or least favorite football movie? Did anybody see the board? A lot of chalk on the board, but we had some takes throughout the show. Anyone want to chime in?
I didn't see. I was with Bobby's. I was with Bobby's dad, not watching his show.
You're at hockey as well.
Yeah. Me and Michael Scott were out there skating. Yeah.
Airbud Golden Receiver was not on the board. If you're wondering, if you're curious, I'm sure you're a big Airbud guy.
That's what I was wondering about. Yeah.
That was your first question. Naturally, that was your first question. What else would it be? Nothing Waterboy related. But I don't know. If you got anything, by all means, feel free to fire it off. But otherwise, myself and Tim and Bobby, we do thank you all for watching the first portion. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. But you got 2 hours, still 2 hours. And Erik, there's no news, right? It's really quiet. Is there any news we're waiting for? Like nothing. Right? Unless I'm missing something?
Nothing that I can think. Nothing notable, at least.
Unless there's a trade. Unless there's a trade and surprise inactive because there's a trade.
Like Breece Hall gets traded or something. Yeah.
There's never any trades though. It's the NFL. Like there's no fun. And are we going to get a weird person like Darnus Johnson's report?
Well,
he's going to be the
John Mechie gets traded every 3 weeks or so, but other than that.
All right, let's step aside. Let's get out of here. Let's make way. Beimfohr, it is all yours.
Welcome, of course, to GPP Final Takes. I am your host, Erik Beimfohr, joined by two of the best in the biz, of course, Neil Orfield and Jordan Vanek. If you've not joined us before, what we're going to do is not necessarily go game by game and not necessarily go position by position. What we're going to try to do is hit on all of the final takes that we have that you guys might be curious about, the most important elements of the slate today, specifically for tournaments. If you have cash game questions, by all means. If you have any questions, pop those in the chat. We want to try to hit as many of those as we possibly can. That's what we're here to do. Answer you guys' questions, not just rip. Neil will list all of his entire portfolio today. I will give you a few guys that I'm playing that will score 0 fantasy points. And Jordan will tell you everything that's going to happen in the Panthers game, assuredly. So we got you covered for all of that stuff, but we want to hit as many of your questions as possible. Super quick, high level. Neil, running back value. We got running back value for the first time in a while. We're not talking about like how many of Christian McCaffrey and JT do we have to play. It's how many of Kamani Vidal and Tyrone Tracy and Kyle Monangai, and right. There's a bunch of these different running back values, and I do feel like how you approach them. Are they all great? Are you foregoing Christian McCaffrey then, right? And Jahmyr Gibbs and whatever. That leads you to more Jamar Chase or Rashee Rice or whatever. Like how you decide what to do with some of these really good running back values with enhanced volume really, I think, kind of defines how you approach this slate. Agree? Disagree?
No, 100% agree. I think there are a lot of good running backs on this slate. However, so I hand-built like 3 lineups this morning and realized, not on purpose, but I looked at them and I was like, oh, all 3 of my lineups have Kyle Monangai, Christian McCaffrey, Kamani Vidal. Like that was just like the starting place. Like those are the ones that stand out to me the most when I'm hand building, which is why I think I need to use an optimizer because I like Jalen Warren. I like a lot of these other running backs. I like Jonathan Taylor. I want to get to all of them. It's just like when I'm hand building, I do the comfiest clicks and start with those 3. But yeah, agree. I mean, Kamunanga gonna get 50%. I think is like the over under and how much ownership Kamunanga ends up getting. Just has the nut matchup against Cincinnati. He's 4,600. And like if Swift were active, it was probably going to be a 55-45, 60-40 kind of split. Now it could be a 75-25 kind of split with Kamunanga. So it's just he's cheaper and you get an awesome split and everybody runs all over the Bengals. So it's kind of hard to get away from. But at the same time, like, would any of us be surprised if Kamunanga scores 12 fantasy points and like is not what you want because there is opportunity cost there. So so I think that's like the biggest decision point. It starts with Kamunanga. But like you said, we have a lot of pretty strong value on this slate.
Jordan, if I told you in July that we would get to the halfway point of the regular season and Kyle Monangai was going to be the highest owned player on a DFS slate, I'm not sure what odds we would have to given you for that one for you to hit that one. But I agree. I think he's the starting point. But ultimately, all of these running backs and do you forego some right? Christian McCaffrey looks good. I know you like Jahmyr Gibbs. Jonathan Taylor is still Jonathan Taylor, and the Steelers aren't exactly the old Steelers. There's a lot of good options at the running back position. So how do we kind of decipher between how many of the value guys to play, which ones to play, all that?
I think this is going to be one of the highest scoring slates we've had all season, just because there's just so many good games from a DFS perspective. It feels like a lot of this team, all they like to do is throw the ball. This team can't defend the pass. That's really good. Type of matchups are here. And for running backs, it's like it makes it super fun to say like Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jonathan Taylor are all projected under 10% ownership this week. Why can't any of them go for 40? Not really sure. It's just like they obviously like Christian McCaffrey against the Giants. That's obviously great play. But Jahmyr Gibbs can outscore him. Bijan against the Patriots probably doesn't because the Patriots are a pretty top tier run defense. Jonathan Taylor against the Steelers, like the Steelers the last 2 weeks, like you just watch their defense and it's terrible. It's a terrible group. So yeah, this slate, it's super fun to build. This is the first slate in a while, especially that I like JJ McCarthy this week for DFS. Like you put in JJ McCarthy, Kyle Monangai, and I grossly like Jalen Naylor, but we'll get to that at some point. You do whatever you want. Like it's like McCaffrey, Gibbs, Jamar Chase, Monica. It's like I can play whatever I want, and all of the lineups are correlated. Like I think correlation will be key to this slate.
That makes a ton of sense, right? Like Bobby was saying right before we got on, like there's a bunch of low scoring. What are we talking about? Like there's a bunch of really good backup running backs that are projected for a ton of points. The superstar running backs are projected for a ton of points, and there's a bunch of games with a bunch of projected points. So that screams to me of a high scoring slate. Neil, let's try to sort of rack and stack some of the running backs. Let's start at the top end because what you do there, I think, can also help define how you decipher between the Vidals and Monangais and what have you. I don't think it's profound of me to say that Christian McCaffrey looks pretty good. That guy here today against the worst run defense in the NFL from an EPA per play perspective. The Giants are like what I've been calling like doubly bad second place. They're worse than like everyone by such a wide margin in the run game. It's hard to fathom. And now we welcome Christian McCaffrey to town. Mac Jones is still the starting quarterback. I assume Christian McCaffrey is your favorite kind of spend up, but how are you thinking about those other guys as pivots and how much Christian McCaffrey do you really want to play?
Yeah, I would say Christian McCaffrey is like the safest spend up. So like he looks good in cash games. He is very, very likely to score 20 plus fantasy points. Like there, and obviously there's always the caveat of like he could get hurt, and that we've stopped feeling that about Christian McCaffrey, I guess. Like I think we started the season of like any game he's going to get hurt at some point, and now it's like, all right, we're not as scared of that anymore. He's stayed healthy all year. I think he is the comfiest click, probably the one that I get to the most of the pay up options, but also he's going to be chalky as a result. Like everybody wants to play him, projected to be played by like a third of the field around the industry. I probably am going to be above weight on that, honestly. And I, in running the sim so far, that's what I found is just like, yeah, even at 33% ownership, you're going to get 58% in the sim. So I'm probably just leaning in on it with Christian McCaffrey, not getting away from that ownership. But you can make a strong case for, Bijan Robinson for sure. Looks like a strong play against the Patriots. Interested in that. even, and people are kind of grossed out after he couldn't even get it done against the Dolphins defense, and you want to play Bijan Robinson against more competent defense. But yeah, no, I think Bijan, fairly strong play. Jonathan Taylor, I mean, do you think they're going to try to get him 3 touchdowns again? Just like keep it going. Why not? Just like get this guy 3 touchdowns every single week.
Do they have to try?
They don't. Yeah,
Guy
good
just,
point.
I
They
mean,
don't.
it's
They
not
don't
like
do
either.
anything.
This isn't like the Jamal Williams or whatever, right? This isn't like a make a wish situation. This is like he's taking it from 20 out every single time.
Good point.
I can't believe what's happening.
Yeah, he's just on an insane run. Feel pretty stupid for drafting Brock Bowers over him over and over again all summer when he's just destroying everything. I mean, none of us knew that the Colts were going to be the best team in the NFL. Like they were projected to win 7 games. But yeah, they're he's crushing. Gibbs, strong history against my Vikings. He's a nice pay up option. So yeah, we have a lot of strong pay up options. But Christian McCaffrey, like easily the safest. And then from there, it's like you kind of get contrarian Jonathan Taylor, contrarian Bijan Robinson, Gibbs a little bit less contrarian. I'm not as interested in Josh Jacobs. I'm curious here if you guys differ with me on that. But he's like too close to the higher pay up options, and it's tough to see him putting up like 35. So I'm kind of fading Josh Jacobs to some extent. James Cook kind of contrarian, so I don't mind that. I'm probably fading Kyron Williams, probably slight fading Ashton Genty. Maybe I gotta go back and forth on Genty because I like the team, so I might get to some of that. And then you start into the plays that I really like below that, but that's kind of the spend ups. Maybe stops with Genty.
Makes a ton of sense, Jordan. The other question I would add to just your overall thoughts on the superstar spend ups is if you don't play Christian McCaffrey right in a lineup. Is that more of a, okay, now let's play the Niner, right? Let's play Kittle. Let's play Jawan. Let's play Mac. Maybe are the Niners one of those situations where it's like, man, it's really rough, right? From a hand building perspective, a small field, whatever. Like it's really rough to get away from like the entire 49ers offense. Is it one of those type situations, or is it just kind of CMC or bust, or how are you thinking about that?
So if it was Brock Purdy playing quarterback, I would have been a lot more interested in Kittle. It just doesn't seem like Mac and him have quite the same connection that those two had. So McCaffrey's just really, really difficult to get away from with Mac Jones. It feels like he wants to throw him the ball every single play. Kendrick Bourne was someone that was pretty good with Mac. But again, it's one of those games where I think I simply just don't overthink it. The Giants have just been so bad against everyone. I think if you want to get different, you try to find the mini. Darius Slayton stands out to me. He's one of the feels like there's so many 4 to 3K options that I think will have that long catch today. like if you're trying to take the longest receiving yards props on some of these guys or longest catch, feel like Pierce, Slayton, Naylor are just fantastic options.
Can everyone shut up about Alec Pierce? The other show's talking about him. I want to talk about him. Everybody's talking all about this Alec Pierce thing, and I'm getting upset.
But with obviously on same game with Alec Pierce, like Jonathan Taylor at 9%, like I don't love it, but I'm also not going to say like, oh, there's so many easy options to get to that are cheap that getting to Jonathan Taylor is not that difficult. Bijan, again, I just don't think Vrabel is going to let him run. That O-line the Dolphins fit their gaps really well. Josh Jacobs, I can't play against the Panthers. If you watch James Cook's rushing, it was a lot of, hey, he's way faster than everybody on our defense, and we weren't touching him before 5 yards down the field. Like Josh Jacobs takes the same carries that James Cook got and gets 12 yards. James Cook was getting 60 and a touchdown. I want to go to speed backs when the Panthers play. I actually think like a Savion Williams or someone will get into the end zone rushing. Like I think they're going to use the Packers do give their running back or receiver some rushing work. The way that the Panthers just couldn't defend the edges and speed, I think it's a pretty simple, just stay away. I think the Packers rushing for receivers will be there. And then Gibbs is the one I love the most. Gibbs scored the most points ever for a running back against the Todd Bowles defense. He's one of 2 running backs to score 30 against them. It's him and McCaffrey had it with a lot of catches and touchdown equity. And Gibbs just did it by having 80 yards receiving, $170 rushing. Last year against the Vikings, he had 6 touchdowns and I think 300 yards in total between the 2 games. I don't see the Vikings run defense being great. I know I did it with Saquon Barkley 2 weeks ago, obviously a week too early on Saquon breaking out. But if they're going to try to completely sell it on Gibbs, then it's like Jared Goff doubles are just fantastic, because then Amon-Ra and, J-Mo are going to just absolutely demolish this defense. So it's pick your poison of what you want to take away. I think they're going to respect Jared Goff's ability to throw a lot more than they did with Jalen Hurts. And it's going to result in just Gibbs kind of getting his.
What would you do? Is Gibbs strictly going to be a CMC pivot for you, or are you going to try to jam both of them into lineups?
With Kyle Monagai, it's just play all three. Like my lineups today, with the fact that I like JJ McCarthy, it's Gibbs, McCaffrey, and then Monagai, and then figure out what to do with the receivers, with the Vikings getting to Jay Jettas or playing a Josh into Jalen Naylor, and then going from there. I do not like Jordan Addison too much. I think that is an option that the Lions will focus on taking away, and he will be double. And if you look last year, Jordan Addison was terrible in the 2 games that he had against the Lions with Jalen Naylor. Jalen Naylor actually outproduced him by like 70 yards receiving in both games.
I love it. So let's then go over to some of these cheaper running backs, Neil, which is what I think everybody probably. I'm guessing most people have fairly strong conviction about. I think I'm just going to play Christian McCaffrey, guys, right? Or I like the Gibbs pivot, I like the JT pivot, what have you. But even I do find it very difficult to decipher between all of these value running backs, because they're all great. I think. Kyle Monangai, I agree. I kind of like him as a player, probably more than the average person does. He's not anything special. He reminds me, because he's from the same school. We do these stupid comps, right? But like the Pacheco thing, when Pacheco burst onto the scene, you were like, he's not special, but he's good enough to get the job done if he gets the ball enough, and the matchup is good. Well, that's exactly what we have from Monangai here today. But Tyrone Tracy has gotten the job done in good matchups. This is a good matchup for him. The Travion Henderson matchup is so, and you'll have to forgive me if I'm still not worried about his role. We're going to see a whole bunch of Terrell Jennings or Dearness Johnson or something, I guess, today. But and then Kimani Vidal, right, against the Jeffrey Simmons-less, lifeless Tennessee Titans. There's just a lot to like at the running back position. How are you thinking about them from your tournament builds?
Yeah, I imagine that I will have the most of Kyle Monangai, but also I'll be under the field. Like, I think I might have 30% Kyle Monangai in my lineup. So like, if he goes off, like, I'm not dead because he went off. But at the same time, I'm not like jamming Kyle Monangai. He's not like a lock in every lineup for me. I wasn't thinking it wasn't, and then that's kind of what the Sims gave me also, is like, yeah, you'll be a little bit underweight to the field, but like, you're not taking this huge risk on Kyle Monangai. I think he has a pretty high floor. And he does have a high ceiling. I just think it is not that unlikely that he puts up a score that is like, in the like 10 to 15 range, where it's like, yeah, it's good. You're like, you get the little fire emoji maybe, but like just barely, and like you feel good about it, and then you're giving up a spot where somebody else can put up 30 for you. So I think he's a strong play. Obviously, he's a cash game lock, but I do imagine I'll be a bit underweight on Kyle Monangai. I think I'll be underweight on Tyrone Tracy. I think like we've seen him as the lead back before, and he wasn't that good. Like, just like and now he's getting a lot of ownership because we don't have Scadaboo in there. But like, and he looked pretty good for a bit of a game earlier in the year when he was a starter at the start. Maybe he's better this year than he has been historically. We don't have much of a sample size, so I'm going to lean on the bigger sample size, which is like, yeah, he's just not a world beater like Scadaboo is. So even with a great role, and in a pretty strong matchup here, I'm going to take at least a slight fade position on Tyrone Tracy, just because he has not really shown us that much in his time, although he is a strong point per dollar play. I'd rather play Jalen Warren, 5,500. His role has been pretty strong, and we've seen him actually do pretty well with the role. So I like Warren at 5,500. Trevion, I got to be honest, I look at the Falcons and I'm like, I don't want to play anybody against the Falcons. Like, it seems like a pretty strong matchup, but over the past 5 weeks, third best matchup for running backs in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. So it's actually a bit of a run funnel against the Falcons. If he actually has the role that we hope he has, he's a bit too cheap, and getting a lot less ownership than Kyle Monangai. So he's the one that, like, when I run the Sims, I kind of flip the ownerships there on Monangai and Trevion Henderson, where Henderson's just not getting as much ownership. So I like that a bit. Love Vidal at 6,300. Great role, great matchup with Tennessee. And then the other, kind of cheap, but below $5,000 Kareem Hunt like could have a pretty awesome role without Isaiah Pacheco, and like he doesn't excite you. You don't put Kareem Hunt in your lineup thinking like this guy's going to put up 12 fantasy points on one play, but he can get there on his 3.3 yards per carry by scoring a couple touchdowns, catching a few balls, maybe more involved in the passing game. With no Pacheco there. So I think Kareem Hunt, and he's not getting much ownership, which kind of surprised me. For like everybody wants to play that game, everybody's jamming the passing game for the Chiefs, but nobody's playing Kareem Hunt. So I don't mind that. I guess I'll throw out just a couple more names since I do have to name every player in my player pool. I'll just throw Travis Etienne, Chase Brown, probably make my player pool as well.
I like that. The Bears, we'll talk about that game in a minute as well, but the what to do with the Bengals is pretty interesting. You have to forgive me also if I don't think Samaje Perine is going to average 10 yards per carry a lot of games, and then kind of be the hot hand. Samaje Perine hot hand was not something on my bingo card in 2025, but it was what it was. I think Chase Brown is interesting as well, probably a little bit more for large field tournaments. The Kareem Hunt thing is so funny to me as well. I guess he could score 12 points. Like, is there like a Rock and Jock? You guys remember Rock and Jock, like the basketball games and stuff that they used to have on MTV, where they would have like they would raise the hoop up like really really high, and it would be like a 12-pointer or whatever for like 2 minutes, and you know the celebrities are out there playing and all that kind of stuff. If we had one of those. Where they, we played in Chiefs Bills games get a little wonky, so maybe it will be. But I think this value, right, all opening up the Manung guys and Travions and Tracy's and stuff. Just people are like, thank God, I don't got to play. I can play one of these like fun younger guys, even though Tyrone Tracy's 25 years old as a second year player. Jordan, just anything else on the running back position before we hit a few questions, and then we'll pivot over to some pass game stuff.
Well, just so everybody in the chat knows, I am a Carolina Panthers fan. I'm not a Bills fan. Wearing the Bills jersey because Josh Allen did me a favor last year against the Rams. Came in second, fourth, and fifth. And if Mari Cooper doesn't get DPI'd, I would have came in first in a bunch of contests. So not a Bills fan. Do think that's the game of the week. That's why I picked this jersey. As far as like the running back position goes in the bottom tier, I believe like McDonald guy. I don't want Travion. I'm scared. I'm terrified. I don't want to do it. I'm okay. I saw a question about Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle is probably going to be the lead back for Carolina. Nope, not touching it because this offense line it's bad. It's really bad, and I'm scared. I actually like the Packers defense quite a bit against my Carolina Panthers at the top dollar this week on DraftKings because we lost Chandler. So our Chandler Zavala is coming back, which he gave up 8 pressures and 14 snaps in his first game, and he might start at guard this weekend. Taylor Moan's been questionable all week, and he was really bad last weekend. Icky's been pretty good, but Robert Hunt's still out. I don't want anything to do with Rico Dowdle. I think this is going to be a tough game for just overall Panthers fandom after getting blown out by the Bills. Just the Jalen Warrens, the Tony Pollards, I just don't see myself playing. I just can't. There's receivers at those price points that I love a lot more. And I'm not a 150 maxer like Neil. Can't name every player in football until I'm playing them this weekend. But it's just I like Kamani Vidal a lot. That would be the one player that I would be like, if you go Vidal, Gibbs, and McCaffrey to get away from a non-guy, I think that's the pair that I would have. Because it's like 2 guys with absolute ceilings, a running back that literally has scored 25, 2 of the last 3 weeks, gets 20 carries a game. Like, if Monangai gets that type of role, that would be great. But if he doesn't, we have the guy that's doing what Kyle Monangai we want him to do in the same type of matchup.
Yep. It's a great point. Similar to the Travion thing. I like Travion a lot. Travion to me is like a little bit of the emotional part of the game that still exists. Yeah. We all like every like ball knower, right? Has been like Travion. Oh my God. When is he going to finally take over for Ramondre? And now it's like, dude, all the other running backs are gone, and we're all still like, I don't know. Terrell Jennings, man. Terrell Jennings is gonna like it. We're
Johnson.
Yeah, like
they're promoting him. Man.
Yeah, we're all the wounds are still fresh, and we're struggling to go back out to battle with the fresh wounds. But I agree. Like Neil said, I opened up right when we got the news on Friday. Open things up, and my first take is the same thing. It's like it's the Falcons. We've really been not wanting to, like, for the first month or whatever, they were the number 1 DVOA defense in football. And the last month they've been bad. They've been like really bad.
Really
CMC's what? No one is mistaking Trevion and the Patriots for Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers. But CMC's one like slate-breaking tournament game was against this Falcons defense. They've been bullied in multiple different games. And Shanahan came out and said, like, all week we knew that this is how we were going to bully these dudes. Like, we were going to come out and run the ball down their throats because they couldn't stop us. And so that seems like a very Vrabel and Josh McDaniels like style take to me as well. Again, that could mean Terrell Jennings for all we know. But like Trevion is like the anti-Kareem Hunt, where it's like, we could be wrong about this. And like, shoot, he is still in a 50-50 split, but he just pops one, right? He catches 3 balls. He's at least the talent that I believe in. And maybe I'll be wrong about that, but I like him more so on DraftKings. But overall, let's hit some questions and then we'll pivot over to the passing game. Neil arguing with people about Amherst College. Let's see. With Tyrone, I like this question, Neil. Didi says, with both Tyrone Tracy and CMC projecting well, can you play them in the same lineup? Obviously, they're playing each other.
You can. Yeah, I think you can play running backs. Like I don't set rules to not play running backs in the same lineup. It slightly negatively correlates, but I think less so with two potentially pass. I mean, we know CMC is a pass catcher. Tyrone Tracy, like we haven't really seen it as the like he's a pass catching running back at the NFL level, but he was a receiver in college. I still think like at some point that's probably going to happen. I would think they were passing to Cam Scadaboo, so I think maybe Tracy gets more involved as a pass catcher now. So yeah, with pass catching backs in particular, I think you can play him in the same lineup, no problem.
You ever notice we get a lot of these? Oh, he was a receiver in college and he converts to running back, and they never play passing downs.
I know, it's crazy.
And it's like the weirdest. It's like eventually one of these guys who was a really good receiver in college is going to catch passes as a running back. But
Rashard Smith is like maybe on that track.
And he's like kind of like playing half running back, half wide receiver, right? Whereas like Tracy's just anyway, not important. We do mostly DFS stuff, but Jordan, I know you're on the Vikings, and maybe this will segue us into some passing game stuff. Tunbach. Sorry if I'm saying this wrong. What do you think about Justin Jefferson? Generally, he's looking to bet his over receiving yards, but I know you like Jalen Naylor, but is JJ also kind of a top play for you, a wide receiver?
Yeah, he's destroyed the Lions in his career. Like Amik Robertson has this like he is pretty good against him. They've literally known each other since high school. They've been playing each other since high school. And Amik Robertson kind of limited him a little bit last year, but it's not enough for me to care. Also, the other thing why I like the Vikings, JJ McCarthy in particular, it's the first game that he's going to have Darisaw and Brian O'Neill at the tackles. Like
and Jordan Addison, by the way.
And Jordan Addison, which is huge. And it's like this is the first time he's they gave him the 2 months in a binky to recover this past month or so. Like Bryce Young recovers in a week, but McCarthy took 5 weeks to get there.
Injuries can be different, right? Like sometimes injuries are like more severe than other injuries.
I was enjoying the bit until we went the Bryce Young's got that dog in him. Take.
Hey, for how much Neil has talked about my Panthers, it's funny that I'm actually touting like McCarthy this week. Yeah. But regardless, I think Jay Jettas that line is, I think he gets over that. I don't love Amon-Ra because like 6.5 catches, it just feels like 6. Like he could get 12 and whatever, but I don't know if they're going to necessarily need him to do that. I like it in games where I'm fully confident the other team's going to do it. I'm not fully confident the Vikings are going to have it figured out. I'm hoping they have it figured out because my lineups with Jamar Chase, Gibbs, McCaffrey feel great compared to most weeks.
Yeah, it really does. Part of that, one final question, Neil, and then I know you already answered it in the chat, but for the folks not monitoring the chat, HC King asks, who do you guys like between De'Ami Brown and Parker Washington? Of course, man, that Travis Hunter news sucked. That took it's been really fun as a zero RB bro with all the running back. Like I'm not rooting for injuries, right? But like DeAndre Swift is fine. He'll be okay. Like it's nice. This is a fun week for the zero RB bros. And then I was so ready for Travis Hunter week. Like I was really excited to come on here and talk about 47. But anyway, so it opens up potentially Parker Washington, De'Ami Brown, but also maybe Brian Thomas Jr. is maybe going to have a good game. I don't know. But what do you think about the Jags pass catchers?
Yeah, it's definitely Parker Washington over De'Ami Brown for me. De'Ami Brown kind of trending in the wrong direction, down from 65% route participation to 60% to 28% last week. I think there was an injury in there, but I think Parker Washington had been kind of moving in the right direction anyway, up from 27% to 36%, and then he ran 77% last week. Now I don't know if that was partially due to De'Ami Brown getting hurt in game, but I think Washington is just the lead of the wide receiver 2 there, and with Travis Hunter out, I think Parker Washington just gonna be. I think it's a really strong game for Parker Washington, whereas De'Ami Brown is like yeah, you can mix him in, but I'm not as confident in the take. So yeah, Parker Washington over De'Ami Brown for me.
Makes a ton of sense to me. Jordan, let's pivot on over to some passing game stuff. I know you've written up and talked, and you were just talking about the Vikings, but when you start to look at, right, we got our running back slotted in, right? But now which kind of game do we stack amongst all these really appealing game stacks? Is the Vikings Lions the first one for you, or where are you looking?
So the first one is the McCarthy stack, but I like Jackson Dart quite a bit. This morning I kind of started looking a little bit deeper than I had done previously with the 49ers defense, and just seeing the low pressure rate is the biggest thing, where it's like they just couldn't get to CJ Stroud. That's pretty embarrassing because of what we see from pressure rate perspective. And with Jackson Dart, I do think he gets more run in the red zone, which is really good, and for obviously the fantasy production. But the main person I actually like him to go to here is Darius Slayton. Like, you're telling me you're not going to get a lot of pressure. Jackson Dart loves to throw it downfield. He was launching it against Denver when they were getting after him. This is a game maybe the Lions or the Giants can actually protect a little bit. So like a Dart, Slayton, McCaffrey is kind of a game build that I've liked quite a bit for my lineups on DraftKings. Caleb Williams against the Bengals. If one guy's going to fail, it's most likely because the touchdown equity went to the passing game, or Caleb even ran, because he's done that quite a bit this year as well. Don't really like the Joe Flacco just because I'm terrified of his shoulder. That's just an injury with quarterbacks. It doesn't take a whole lot. As a Cam Newton, that's a Panthers fan, I watched TJ Watt hit Cam Newton one time, and he was never the same player again. Obviously, Joe Flacco's not dealing with that type of injury, but he has an ailment that made him not practice on Friday, not practice on Wednesday. And it's like, if you're limiting the days in between, I'm just scared that one hit and knock you out with your shoulder there. And I also don't expect the Bengals to be winning in that particular game. But Drake May is kind of going overlooked this weekend. That's another guy, like, they could launch it against the Falcons. Falcons with Jesse Bates been on the injury report. I believe that Billy Bowman's out. I think I told you on Thursday, like, there's one Patriot receiver that will most likely get the job done. It's Diggs. Deep crossers are killing the Falcons. When you watch Jalen Waddle's touchdown, and honestly, when Josh Allen went down the field, he threw a touchdown to Dalton Kincaid, or maybe Dawson Knox on it. It's because Jesse Bates is super aggressive and tries to jump these routes. They're going to get him to jump one of them, and Diggs, instead of cutting down, is going to cut up, and I think he's going to catch a long touchdown today.
I love it. Neil, where are you headed from a passing stack perspective, kind of quarterback on into your stacks?
Yeah, I mean, Caleb I like quite a bit, particularly with Rome Odunze, but Olamide Zaccheaus is also a fine value option to throw into that stack. DJ Moore is like, I don't know. I'll probably get to some DJ Moore just because the matchup is so good, and like theoretically benefits, like could get an extra carry or two against the Bengals.
I bet his rushing yards over. I bet his rushing yards
what
over.
Was the line on that?
It was 7.5. It's moved up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's nice. I think he could get a couple extra carry or two, and just like against the Bengals, it's just worth more against this run defense. So I kind of like that. I like the Jackson Dart call. I think I'm still more inclined to go to Wan'Dale Robinson. And I talked with my friend Scott Barrett yesterday, and he was super in on Darius Slayton out on Wan'Dale Robinson. So I think I might be just missing something here, but I just look at it like Wan'Dale runs mostly from the slot. This has been just a slot funnel. The Niners defense giving up the second most schedule adjusted to slot receivers over the past 5 weeks. So I actually, one of my handbills is a double stack, because Scott loved Darius Slayton, Jordan loves Darius Slayton, so I'll double stack it with Wan'Dale. I think it's a nice matchup. It's pretty inexpensive to get there. So I like the Giant stack a bit. The most off the wall stack that I'm getting to, actually no, I'll before I get to that one, I'll say I do like Jared Goff doubles. Also, I think that's another way you can just play the Vikings game. The most off the wall I'm getting to is Geno Smith. I'm hopeful. And Eric, I read your experts say that we're like lockstep. I think on the Brock Bowers, just like could elevate the entire offense, and I'm leaning in extra with the $4,600 Geno Smith against this Jaguars defense over the past 5 weeks, fourth most adjusted to both quarterbacks and tight ends, just like sets up as the perfect spot here for a $9,600 if you want to go with a single stack of Geno Smith and Brock Bowers. So I'm really leaning in on Geno as my my disgusting stack of the day. I think I prefer Josh Allen to Patrick Mahomes just for the savings in terms of ownership. Although I guess the gap has closed a little bit there, so it's less of a. It used to be like for a while it was like 12% going to Mahomes, 4% going to Josh Allen. It looks like that's getting the gap is closing there, so it's less of a stand for me. I think that's actually. I'm not going to get to that as much as the field, even though it's not that chalky. The Sims weren't giving it to me, so I'm just leaning in on some of the cheaper stacks, and because we have a lot of like strong pay up options, I think, on this slate. So I think that's presumably why the Sims are not loving like paying up at quarterback, because you can just if you pay down, you can get so many of these great receivers and running backs. So I think I'm going to be underweight on the Buffalo Kansas City quarterbacks.
Yeah, we'll get to the tight end position. I just one of the things that I just like believe in, and you guys have seen it has hit occasionally and it has massively failed plenty of other times. That's just kind of the nature of it, is like the idea of like play it before you see it, right? Where like that's Brock Bowers to me. Every week there's kind of a different guy with that, but it's Brock Bowers. You could argue Travion, but like it's not quite the same thing. We've seen a little bit of him, but the last time we saw Brock Bowers, the last time we saw the Raiders, as you're saying, why Geno Smith is attractive at 4,600. The last time a healthy Brock Bowers, 100% healthy, now, and he only ran like 60% of the routes or so in week one. They beat this Patriots team, by the way, that everyone's crowning, right? Like, don't talk to a Patriots fan right now, because they are going to the Super Bowl, right? We can't talk about the fact they beat the Titans and the Dolphins and the Saints and the whatever, right? But they lost to the Raiders. Brock Bowers went for 100 yards, and Geno had a good game. Like his only good game of the season. I'm not saying Geno is like some absolute slam dunk, but I agree with you from like a big field tournament perspective at 4,600. If he throws for 300 yards and Brock Bowers has 102, like what you can get at, you want Jamar Chase, you want Christian McCaffrey, you want Rashee Rice, you want those guys. There's paths to do it. Jordan likes JJ McCarthy. Jackson Dart is 5,200. Mac Jones is 5,000, right? Even Caleb is 57 or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's so many of those guys that Alexander's question about like Jared Goff is a little cheaper, and I do like him. It's the Lions, man. But like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, they're gonna have good games. But like it's not even just like opportunity cost. It's like roster construction opportunity cost. Like what you got to do to play Josh Allen is like, well, maybe you get CMC, but now you got to live in that 5K range like everywhere, and you still got to play your Parker Washington or Darius Slayton or whatever. That's the problem for me. I will shout out. I don't necessarily. I think I like Drake London a little bit more just by himself, but Michael Penix is another cheap quarterback option. He is back. I think that game's going to have a few more points than people are expecting. Drake London just 6,400. Like people are just like, whatever. We'll make him 10% or something like that. The matchup is not awesome, but just that again if you like Drake May, you could play a Drake London. Bring right the little London Diggs mini, something like that. I like that game as well. And then hold on, sorry, there was one other guy that I forgot to mention. Oh, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones and the Colts is kind of my like way I can make myself feel comfortable not having Jonathan Taylor, right? It's like maybe this will be the week that Daniel Jones gets the extra touchdowns, and it's not 3 Jonathan Taylor touchdowns every week. Also think the Steelers defense is really exploitable all season, but specifically lately, they're just handing out 300-yard passing games to everybody. Deshaun Elliott is out. I've made a probably too big of a deal of that over the course of this week, but I think he's like a huge piece just to stop the Colts overall. He's really big in their run. He's a safety, right? But he's really big in their run game, coming down and helping with the run. But then he's also really big in stopping tight ends. I don't know if you watched the game last week against Tucker Kraft. Deshaun Elliott went out, and Matt LaFleur was like, I think we should go to that Tucker Kraft dude. And the next thing you know, he has 150 yards and 2 touchdowns or whatever. Tyler Warren's like a little baby Tucker Kraft to me, and the Colts are pretty unstoppable in offense. So Daniel Jones, I think I would add to the quarterback mix. Let's talk about some of those wide receivers that we want to play with or without some of these quarterbacks. Go to Jordan. What are you thinking from a wide receiver perspective? Obviously, you've mentioned some, but maybe some other guys that you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, the starting point, or Alec Pierce is a player that I would be having with your Daniel Jones lineups. Just single high coverage has been what he actually leads the team in targets. Despite missing how many weeks he has, he leads the team in targets against single high, because that's when they see it, they want to go deep, and Steelers are going to have to give them single high because they need that extra player in the box to defend Jonathan Taylor. It's like, how does Jonathan Taylor fail? I think Alec Pierce is the standout option from a deep ball perspective, deep crossing perspective. I think Jalen Ramsey is going to be on Michael Pittman, and you're just going to let that matchup wash itself out. Last year, I think Pierce had a big catch as well, but he didn't have quite the big game. And that was with Joe Flacco coming in the second half. Obviously, Mike Tomlin doesn't want to see Joe Flacco come through the doors. Jamar Chase is obviously too good not to talk about. Just 42 targets in the last 2 games. Just an absurd number to say out loud. I'm worried about Flacco's shoulder. I don't want to play Flacco, but I'm fine playing Jamar Chase, because even if Jake Browning comes in there, these Bears corners should not be able to cover him at all. The Rashee Rice thing, I am not playing him at the ownership today because, and the only reason that I don't like it is these two teams are so in sync with each other with how much they match up every single year. I think I saw it last year in the playoffs. The Bills found a lot more success on defense when they went man against the Chiefs. They just went man. They brought a person down in the box. I think with heavy man usage, Rashee Rice is going to have some issues on some of those, just throw the ball 3 yards down the field doing plays. And I think the Chiefs, as an adjustment, will try to attack them deep, whether it's Tyquan Thornton, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, to be determined. It's just one of those things where I'm interested to see how many catches he has. I know his line's at 7.5. I think he's going to not have as successful as a schemed up game as it's needed. Puka Nacua is back. He's another guy that I'm scared that I'm not playing him, because when he was fully healthy, it's like, dude, this guy just every single week. But I think Devontae Adams is a very, very strong tournament, GPP large field play. He's just been so dominant in the red zone. And I think the Rams have recognized that. Kyron Williams is getting ownership, but I think Devontae Adams is actually the number one option in the red zone for the Rams going forward. So those are kind of how the top options play. Justin Jefferson, I love just because I'm playing McCarthy. Amon-Ra's a fine bring back, but I'm not necessarily targeting him over Gibbs.
Yeah, I love, obviously I mentioned Neil, I love the Alec Pierce thing, but I just want to double what Jordan said. I can't think, I guess maybe there is more of a boomer group, but a group like the Steelers who've been getting absolutely eviscerated on the ground, through the air, what have you. And Jonathan Taylor comes to town and they're just talking all week, right? You imagine the meeting rooms about we're not giving up 3 touchdowns to this mother, you know what? That's ain't happening to us. And it's okay, you're going to give up 350 passing yards. You're just going to let, Pierce and Warren and Pittman and stuff cook you. So, yeah, those guys stand out to me. What do you think about the wide receiver position?
Yeah, love the Pierce call. Love the Daniel Jones call. Also, I do think all the stats coming out this week are look at the first half versus the second half for the Colts, and it's they all put up all their the passing game, all their fantasy points in the first half, none in the second half. Just get pushed once, and suddenly they're going to look like awesome team. Yeah, you've got spend ups with Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm probably just going to kind of split my exposures there. Jamar Chase getting the highest ownership of the group. I am somewhat concerned about Joe Flacco's shoulder. So I think ultimately I'm going to be lower on Jamar Chase and higher on the others. As a result, kind of split the difference there. As mentioned, I do like Wan'Dale, even if he is somewhat chalky. I think this is just a slot funnel matchup for Wan'Dale and Jackson Dart. And he also, Darius Slayton, yes, has the ability to see double-digit targets. Obviously, Wan'Dale does too. So in a slot funnel matchup, looks really good. So I do like the Wan'Dale chalk a bit. We talked about Parker Washington looks good. Of course, BTJ looks pretty good in this spot. This is a week where I don't have super strong wide receiver takes. Honestly, a lot of weeks I come in and I'm there's 4 or 5 wide receivers that are off the wall that I'm just I love this spot. Darnell Mooney a few weeks ago. I loved him. And he got 11 targets and did nothing with it. But there's usually receivers that I like. I will play some because I'm playing a lot of Geno. I'll play some Trey Tucker. Maybe I'll even get to some Jacoby Myers. But I don't feel that great about it. More like JMO, I think I am probably going to fall for the coach speak with JMO of like, yeah, they can probably do whatever they want, and JMO is probably a way that they do it. With Alec Pierce, I mean, it's kind of the same price point, 4,800 GMO, 4,600 Pierce, both look really strong to me. I probably get to some Nico Collins without Patrick Surtain. I never feel great about it with anybody on the Texans with that offensive line, but if he's ever going to get it done, this feels like weakened secondary with no Surtain. I probably get there a bit. Just trying to think of my other like quarterback stacks. Yeah, I'll probably get to Juwan Jennings as kind of chalk at 4,300. Might play some Kendrick Bourne there too, just for the connection with Mac Jones. A little bit more expensive, not getting any ownership, kind of like that. DK looks okay at 5,500. I'll certainly have some DK Metcalf. Yeah, I don't think that I have any other like off the wall play. I think it's going to be largely like a stack it up, spread out my exposures. No really strong takes at a wide receiver for me this week.
Yeah, I think I would just second the DK Metcalf thing. If you like the Colts passing game, like I like the Colts passing game, he's a pretty logical bring back from that perspective. It would not normally be that way. Like what we think of DK Metcalf over the course of his career is like give me one-on-ones on the outside and go run by guys, right? Right, like Tarzan version of Alec Pierce, right? Alec Pierce on steroids or whatever, like is what DK Metcalf is. That's not his role with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've turned him into like this weird version of Debo, kind of like like catch crossing routes and sit in zone and low ADOT and run after catch. Yeah. Which I mean, he's talented run after catch. He's just not like he's not like fluid or whatever. So it's very awkward. But I don't think he has like this great, Rodgers and like Devontae and Garrett Wilson and those different guys like have this like mind meld of like back shoulder and right, you're open when you're not. And that's not DK Metcalf's game. So I think they've been trying to optimize him a little bit just and get the ball into his hands because Rodgers is not like this deep shot taker as much. So anyway, I think it's a pretty good fit for him. If the Colts are going to light them up, if we get some elevated passing volume from Rodgers to Metcalf. We talked about those cheap Jaguars wide receivers. Jordan, is there anything that will get you to play Brian Thomas Jr. Without Travis Hunter? He is 6,200 and reasonably owned on DraftKings, but the spot seems pretty good. It's just is he healthy? Has he gotten rid of the yips? I don't know. I don't know what's going on with BTJ.
I just can't do it. I'm like, you could do the whole like pay to see it, pay before you see it. But I've watched him for weeks, and it's just his wrist is just super aggravating for him, and it's kind of what we experienced with Tyreek Hill last year. Did you want to keep chasing Tyreek Hill with his wrist injury? And it's like you probably didn't have a great time if you did. This is a type of player that like if you're in dynasty leagues and stuff, and your team's not very good, I would be going for. But for DFS perspective, we play week to week. We don't have to play everybody. Like Drake London's a way better play at 200, just 200 more. From a target perspective, what we've seen of him, the way they can scheme him up, like Trevor Lawrence has been inherently bad too at times. like he's one of those quarterbacks that he has everything you want except for when you watch him play. It's just been very, very, very tough for him for his career. In the 5K range, I think I'd rather play Stephon Diggs. DK Metcalf's a great call. And you look at like the receivers that killed the Colts. Puka Nacua, 9-yard ADOT. Aronde Gadsden, 11. You looked at Keenan Allen, 8. Troy Franklin, 7. It's like these guys that are just getting the ball quickly and then going upfield with it. This is what DK Metcalf has been for the Steelers. Chimere DK last week having 90 yards, and it's like 45% after the catch. If they give DK Metcalf space, he's gone. Like this dude against the Vikings in London, when he caught that ball over the middle and there was nobody within 7 yards of him, there's nobody catching him. Colts defense is one of those defenses right now where you had Xavier Howard retired after playing Puka one time. You had Trevarius Ward, who would be shutting DK down because he did that when he was in San Fran. He's on IR because of a run-in with, I think it was Mo Alley Cox during warm-ups. He's been dealing with a really, really bad head injury. So it's like, DK Metcalf is great. Like, I don't know how people will click Keenan Allen over DK. Like, Xavier Worthy is a guy that I think could catch a deep ball, but clicking his name over DK sounds crazy. It's like, we got to look at DK Metcalf as a guy that can actually have a high floor now. And his ceiling is 200 yards, 300. Like he has that type of ceiling and such a high floor. He's just a phenomenal play. DJ Moore is interesting this week as well. What if he gets carries? Like he's already been lining up at running back. Like it's one of those spots where I just stare at and I'm like, what if it's him instead of Manon guy? They're not that far off in price.
I kind of like him. It's
gross.
It's gross. He's not good at football anymore. Like it is what it is. He's not very good. He's like a Cooper Kupp, which pour one out. Cooper Kupp's going to miss this week as well. It feels like that to me. Of just like they kind of got to scheme him up stuff and like, oh, you happen to be open because the team triple covered JSN, right? Like that's how you get your production. But DJ Moore at least still has a little bit of ability to run with the football in his hands. And like, I don't know, he's been playing running back a handful of snaps every single week with Swift, with Roshan, right? Roshan is out too. Not that he really matters, but Roshan Johnson is also out this week. I don't know if we get like 8 to 10 DJ Moore carries and like 5 targets at 5,200. Like, I don't know, against the Bengals, I think I would play just about anybody at that price against the Bengals with that role. So I think he's a pretty good tournament play. I think from like a Caleb stacking perspective, he might actually kind of hurt Caleb because you really kind of want him to get carries, which is not good for Caleb. But like as a pivot off of Caleb and Rome and Manon guy, I think he's pretty interesting. Some other wide receivers just to touch on. We hit DK Metcalf. Neil, what about, we all love Kamani Vidal. I love Kamani Vidal. Everyone who drafted Kamani Vidal in best ball last year is hoping that we'll get some refunds because we were right just a year early. What about the Chargers passing game? They're going to name their score today. It can't all be Kamani Vidal. And Kamani Vidal had 100 yards last week, and Justin Herbert still dropped like 30 DraftKings points. Any Herbert stacks and the Ladd, Keenan, QJ, etc.
Probably I will. Probably I'll have some. So my play that I think is like a fancy play that seems sharp that might not be sharp is like QJ to me. Just like he was so good for a while, and then he's had a few off games, and now and he missed a game, and now everybody's like, oh, it's gross, I'm not playing QJ. He's lost his role to Oronde Gadsden, and I'm thinking like, yeah, we have a small sample size of like Oronde Gadsden has taken over, but it might still be just like a week to week, goes different directions who Justin Herbert throws it to. QJ might still have the ability to break the slate and was looking really good early in the year. So with everybody being completely off him, I'm like, kind of, it's a nice matchup. Like QJ, I think at zero ownership could still work out. So to me, it feels sharp. I'll probably do it, and then he'll have 2 catches for 20 yards, and I'll look stupid and feel stupid after the slate. But before the slate, it feels smart to play some QJ. So I am going to be playing it as though maybe we don't know as much as people. Like everybody's like, no, he's lost his role. It's Oronde Gadsden now, and I'm like, that might be true, but we don't actually know that that's true. We have a small sample size of Oronde Gadsden being the best tight end in the NFL. And that was not who we thought he was prior to that stretch. So I still think it's possible that week to week, we just see it goes different directions, and QJ not getting much ownership, still running a ton of routes. So yeah, I like QJ a bit. I think Ladd has kind of seemingly taken back. And again, this is small sample size, but does appear that he's taken back his top receiver role. I probably don't get to Keenan Allen since he's just not playing in 2 wide receiver sets at this point. He's still targeted heavily, I think, when he's out there. So it could hit. I don't think there's a 0 chance for Keenan, but I probably don't get there. I probably just lean on QJ and Ladd as the guys who are running more outs. And Gadsden, but we'll get to tight ends.
Yeah, that can be a nice little segue. But Jordan, curious your take on the Chargers wide receivers and passing game overall.
It's tough. It's just the way that Trey Harris has just been talked about and the way that he has been playing. And this is a team that this is a group that actually chose Trey Harris in the second round. They didn't choose Quentin Johnston. He was not a part of their plans. He was just inherited from this group. And it's all of a sudden this guy's actually getting run. It kind of makes me I can't take any of them. They're good. They're fine. I'm going to wait until it's a game where I think that they're going to actually matter and the other team's going to do something to make it happen, especially with a slate that's I think there's 4 to 5 games that I could see getting over 50 points this weekend. I think there's 4 that are actually projected in the 50s. This is just the game where it's the Chargers are probably going to go out there. I feel like it'll be 10-3 at the half, everybody like, what are we doing? Why are the Chargers struggling? And then all of a sudden it's just like, yeah, they won 28-10. That's it. That's all I did. Like, nothing special. Nobody did anything crazy. Like, the best player got 21. It was Vidal, and he had 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. Didn't catch a pass. It's just a game that I have no interest in. Even from the defensive side of the ball. Like, I know the Chargers defense is getting popularity, which is weird because normally people just want to pay down. I'm just going to play the Packers. Like, I'm going to play the team at home, a team that the Panthers are dead on the offensive line. And yeah, I remember watching them week 1 and week 2 when they were going to go undefeated and win everything. I think they revert back to that type of defense this weekend.
I love it. Let's hit some questions. We'll talk some tight ends. And then today, special little tweak too, as if you've joined us before, we all give our 3 kind of flag plants, bold calls. What's going to one play that's going to win tournaments today? What we're going to do, we're still going to do that. We're going to plug it into SimLabs here at RotoGrinders. We're going to kind of see, right? Neil has been referencing the Sims. We'll often reference the Sims. You can see what we're talking about, but specifically with some of the guys that we like here today. All right, some questions. Christian Watson, Jordan getting the Panthers. I told you we were going to get Jordan. We need the Panthers take, but Christian Watson pops up, puts Matthew Golden in a locker really quickly in his return to the Green Bay Packers and looks good. Christian Watson looked really good last week. What do you think about him against your Carolina Panthers?
I wish he had a little bit more weeks underneath his belt of playing, because I think he is the player that could get that outside zone rushing play that like, wow, he had 50 yards and a touchdown on one play. Like, that's what he was at some point. So people looked at, but with Savion Williams doing some of that already, I'm just not really getting there. He's been really good against single high coverage, and the Panthers live in cover 3. It's just one of those spots where it's like, whatever the Packers want to do, they're going to be able to do. I think they're going to try to take the air, like the game volume, play volume, just going to be really low between both teams that play pretty slow. And after that crazy Monday night game with the Steelers and the way that played out, I think Watson's fine, but I'm not going to play him at his price.
Neil, what do you think? Alan wants to know about a Lions onslaught. So I assume, Jared Goff plus 2 or 3 different pieces from within that. Pricey, but maybe JMO is helping you out from some salary savings. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense to do a Lions onslaught, at least a double stack with like Amon-Ra and JMO, but you could also do it with Gibbs if you wanted to. You could include Laporta. If you want to triple it, I think that's fine. I think like generally this is a slate where I'm actually going to be doing like full large onslaughts less, just because I think that we have so many high totals and like so many strong plays in a lot of different game environments. So like I do it more on the slates where it's like, yeah, we've got a lot of totals at like 44, 45 and like nothing feels that great and probably something's going to pop off. But this one, it just feels like there's probably going to be multiple games that pop off. So I'm not going to do as huge of onslaughts. But yeah, I think like a double, triple stack with Goff could really work out. You could do a game stack with an Addison, with a Jefferson, Naylor, whatever you want to do there also. So yeah, I think it's strong.
I like that. Jordan, question from Sid: Kittle plus the Texans or Tyler Warren and the Giants defense? He says he currently has no Colts exposure on the team. Didn't mention if he has CMC or anything like that, but no Colts. What do you think about that 2v2?
I'd go Kittle Texans. I think there's just a significant gap between the Texans defense and the Giants defense on this type of slate. Like, I don't love Kittle compared to, Tyler Warren as much, but I do think Kittle can catch a touchdown. It's very easy. I also think he's a better leverage play on this type of slate. And because Taylor's not getting any ownership, but McCaffrey's getting every bit of ownership. So if you're getting to Kittle and no McCaffrey, it's like, oh, he steals 2 touchdowns from him. He gets 19 at 4,800 or whatever. And then the Texans defense is my favorite cheaper defense on the entire slate against Bo Nix.
Yeah, if you can't, we'll get to defense. If you can't spend it, the Texans defense is so good, and like a real life defense doesn't always equate to, but it is Bo Nix on the road. And you have to forgive me if Bo Nix isn't going to have the fourth quarter against the Giants performance every single week. Isn't it like 2 weeks in a row he came out and threw a pick like right away against these terrible defenses? Bo Nix is a trip to watch. He is really funny to watch play football. He can look like Joe Montana and he can look like old Daniel Jones, New York Giants, Daniel Jones from a drive to drive basis. It's pretty crazy. Neil, what do you think? Sean wants to know about, maybe this is silly by me. I don't know. But Brashard Smith, as you kind of mentioned, as a running back that, nobody's talking about. Does he get an elevated role for the Chiefs in a potential shootout with no Pacheco? Are you playing any Brashard?
I currently don't have any Brashard. People have been bringing it up all week, and I'm like, every time, like, it kind of piques my interest a little bit. Like, if you want to play Brashard Smith, I think that it is fine. He could get more work in the actual running game, not just be receiving back. Also, like, in a game where they're pushed, maybe they do more fancy stuff with Brashard Smith as a pass catcher. So I don't hate it. I think that there's enough strong running back plays that I'm not sure that I'm actually going to get there. But, like, if you feel strongly, you think it's fun, you can play it for sure.
Let's see. We talked a little bit about the Wandale Slayton thing already. Some questions there. Aaron does mention happy day after a great World Series. Holy cow. If today's football can live up to half of that World Series, specifically half of that game last night, we're in for a doozy, because, oh my gosh, I don't remember a baseball game that had everything that one had. When Pages just smoked Kike down to the ground to save the game, was like, it got me. Had absolutely everything. Let's see. Ooh, here's an interesting one. Shiv Daddy Jordan wants to know, David Montgomery, we haven't talked about. I know you like Jahmyr Gibbs, but David Montgomery or Kareem Hunt on FanDuel?
That's tough. I would go Kareem. Like, you're going to get the elevated role. I don't see Brashard Smith getting any snaps inside the 10, goal line. It's just Kareem Hunt's been their short yardage guy every single week. He's been good at the short yardage stuff. I think that Kareem Hunt is just in a better spot. I mean, Dave Montgomery obviously can get the goal line as well, but Jahmyr Gibbs will, go break the long touchdown as well.
I like it. Let's do some tight ends, and I see you guys' questions. We got some of those to still hit. Gotta love Chimere DK versus Jalen Naylor question. That really hits home for me. But let's talk about some of those tight ends. Neil, Tyler Warren in the Tucker Craft eruption spot. We talked about Brock Bowers in a play it before you see it at $5,000. Gosh, it feels really good against the Jaguars defense. But there's Kittle at a nice price. There's Kelsey. I kind of think Dalton Kincaid is interesting at $4,000. He's earning a ton of targets. He's just never on the field because the Bills are never really forced to pass. Theoretically, they should be forced to pass. A bunch of value options that I think are all playable. What are you doing at the tight end position?
Yeah, this is, again, a spot where I'm like, it just feels too smart to play Brock Bowers. Like, I can't get away from just playing all the Brock Bowers. Like, as you say, we play it before we see it, but like, yeah, he's been, and it's not even like play it before you see it. It's been like, everybody is like, no, he's gross. Why would you ever play Brock Bowers? Because we had all those games of Brock Bowers playing injured, like, and like playing part-time, totally hobbled, wearing a knee brace. All indications are he's playing at full speed. He's not going to be wearing the knee brace today. We're getting real Brock Bowers back in like the nut matchup at a low price tag at low ownership. So to me, this is like the most obvious play of all time is contrarian Brock Bowers at 5,000. And of course it won't work out because they're actually like, no, we're actually going to work him in. He's going to run 40% of the routes. Is within the range of outcomes. So that's how it could go wrong. But I'm leaning in. I'm playing a ton of Brock Bowers. That is easily my biggest stand here. But I like, George Kittle looks pretty good at 4,800. Kittle can always go off. Tyler Warren, like we talked about, like, what if he just plays in the second half like he plays in the first half of games? He could be a smash also. So I like Warren a bit. I feel like it's generally going to be a pay up because I kind of, I like Gadsden a little bit. I think I'm going to be fading Tucker Craft, which might feel pretty dumb by the time the day is over. But I could just prefer these other spots, kind of like Gadsden, just in the like, what if he actually is what he has looked like recently? Yeah, mostly those. I think I'll mix in, with Sam Laporta and some stacks there will look okay. Theo Johnson stands out from like a value perspective, getting some ownership. I don't totally love it, but you can play him in Jackson Dart stacks also. Hawkinson revenge game against the Lions, 3,400 looks fine. But yeah, for the most part, my stance is just like I'm paying up. I'm going to be having a lot of Brock Bowers.
I will say on the Theo thing, not that there's a bunch of injuries, not that this is like that big of a deal, but Daniel Bellinger is out. They've been playing a lot of too tight end stuff without Malik Neighbors, because when Lil Jordan Humphrey and Jalen Hyatt and stuff are your wide receiver 3, desperate times call for desperate measures. But theoretically, right, in a kind of sneaky high scoring game, Theo should get a little bit of a boost. It's still Theo Johnson, right? It's still the Giants, but just wanted to mention that from an injury perspective. Jordan, what do you think about tight end?
I was gonna say, when does it stop becoming a revenge game for a player? After how many
That is
games?
a great
He has
question.
so much revenge in his heart.
It just like I thought of it when you said the Hawkinson revenge.
It
game.
stops when we
Just
can't use it as a talking
Yeah.
point is when it stops.
When I forget.
like, what if he changes teams like a third time? Does he lose the revenge? I don't know. But going to the tight end position, cheap options that I absolutely love is Juwan Johnson against the Rams. They're going to be playing from behind. Tyler Shuck, starting quarterback. Rookies usually like to throw to their tight end. Erik has let me know that he was his roommate in college. And
Tyler Shuck and Juwan Johnson were roommates at Oregon.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird time to say that. Juwan Johnson was originally at Penn State. Tyler Shuck ended up graduating from Louisville and never actually doing anything at Oregon. So it's a wild ride for these two. But 3,200. Tyler Shuck came in the second half, and he got 6 targets to Juwan Johnson. Great value for me in DFS this weekend. If I were playing, cash, I think I would lean into him as just a safe option. It's easy to plug in. Pat Freiermuth was a player that I liked a little bit during the week as well against the Colts defense. Colts have been interesting against like slot tight ends. Pat Freiermuth has been a lot of the slot for the Steelers, and obviously he has a massive game under his belt against the Bengals. Top of the position, Kraft, Warren. I'm not going to really tell anybody they're crazy for playing either of those guys. They've been absolutely incredible. Panthers have been pretty bad against tight ends. Linebackers aren't too great. And then obviously the Steelers, we saw what Kraft did to that defense just a week ago. So wouldn't surprise me. And then I love Bowers. I'm with you guys in the standpoint of like, let's just play it before we see it. The only thing that scares me, and honestly, I like the Jaguars defense because everybody's just like all of a sudden feeling like, oh, Geno could be the guy this week. It's like, have you watched? Has anybody watched Geno playing a little bit? Like maybe Bowers changes that, but also I'm absolutely terrified of Geno Smith playing quarterback right now. It's kind of funny that nobody likes Kelsey this week. Like historically, he's destroyed the Bills. Nobody likes him. I know he's not historically Travis Kelsey, but it's just like if you were playing Mahomes, I feel like Kelsey is just like a must for this particular matchup where it's going to have a playoff feel to it. And
I like that. I like that because I think he's one of the guys who is kind of projected for decent ownership all week, and then I just think as the week has gone on, we're all just like
Bowers.
Just give me Bowers, give me what Tyler Warren looks good, right? We know Tucker Kraft is awesome. We know Travis Kelsey's kind of cooked, right? Yeah. So like it's like the Chiefs have all like sort of, I guess probably besides Rasheed, have all just been like, like over the course of the week, we're just like, there's other shiny new toys. And I'm not even saying that they're not better plays. I'm just saying the Chiefs in this potential shootout are kind of lessening in ownership over the course of the week. Let's hit defense super quickly. And then I want to plug our kind of flag plants, plug those into SimLabs and see if we can hit any questions before crunch time comes in 5 or 10 minutes. Defense, I'll start. My actual favorite defense, if I can get to them, is I love that Packers call, right? I love some of these spend up options. The Los Angeles Rams against the aforementioned Tyler Shuck, who, yes, he came in and targeted Juwan a bunch of times. He also threw an interception. And I don't know if you saw the Bucs. Now, part of it was against Spencer Rattler. That's why Tyler Shuck is now the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. But if you watched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense last week, it was a feeding frenzy. They tossed a bunch of a chum into a shark tank or whatever. And they were just, it was bad, man. It was bad. And Shuck I don't believe he's better than Rattler. He might make a few fewer mistakes, but I don't know, man. 3,900 completely unowned. The Rams pass rush is awesome. They're healthier off of a bye week. I think they're going to play with a lead, and Kellen Moore don't care. He'll throw it 50 times with whoever is back there, which gives you just all kinds of opportunity. So the Rams, if I can get to them, I've been struggling with some roster construction. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, but I'm trying to fit the Rams in my main team. Neil, what do you think of defense?
Yeah, I like that Rams call. Actually, I listed out a few defenses that I like earlier and did not include them, but I think you're right. I should have included the Rams there. Houston stands out to me at just 2,900 against against Bo Nix. Just like they're a really strong defense. Vegas, I like the price tag. Bears against banged up Flacco look good, and then I think the Packers. Sorry, Jordan, but the Packers against Bryce Young look pretty good to me.
I don't think you have to apologize. It sounds like Jordan also.
I mean, he's on the same page. Yeah,
dude, it's wild that the other thing I'll say about the Panthers is Cade Mays is one of the guys we lost last weekend, and last year when Bryce Young started the season, Austin Corbett was a starting center. Then he got benched, and then Cade Mays took over when Bryce Young came back, and Bryce was good. Austin Corbett is now under center again, which is the same center for the Jaguars, the Cardinals, the Patriots game, and then the two good games of Bryce Young. He's back at center. So the Packers are, to me, the standout defense. I know they're the top price, but no ownership's going to it. I think they could get multiple touchdowns and shut us out. Like, it would not surprise me if we saw some very, very bad defense there. I do like the Rams call out because of the rookie quarterback. I'm afraid of Kellen Moore. He's just a good play caller. That's where it's like, if the rookie's being an idiot, that's different. But it feels like Kellen Moore just schemes up stuff so well. I don't like any of the cheap defenses this week. I'm interested to see how the ownership plays out, because like, if the Bengals are going to be 11% owned, we have problems. I don't know how they're better play than the Raiders.
Sims are broken.
Yeah, it's just the Raiders are staring at, it's like Raiders against Jaguars, way better than Bengals against anybody. I think Trey Henderson's also limited. They just lost their other first-round pick. It's terrible over there for the Bengals. Houston is the other one that I would go to that's under 3K. That's the best defensive play under 3K to me.
I agree. They're just really good. It's Bo Nix. They're not. It's not like I'm not like running to the podium to play the Texans, but like you can just play the Texans. I think every week they're like never going to put up a bad score. They just may not have the pick six or something like that, right? So you can be like, well, if nobody pops off, then the Texans are perfectly fine for me at defense. All right, let's do our flag plants. Producer TJ will help us out behind the scenes in just a second. He will plug those into SimLabs, and we'll run through some of these teams and some of this Sims data. As I mentioned, the Sims are broken from a defense perspective. It's the one thing that I feel passionate about in modern DFS. We can't figure out this defense stuff. But Neil, let's start with you from a flag plant.
Yeah, I think you and I have the same flag plant, which is Brock Bowers. Just like he's 5,000. I'm going to play it before I see it with Brock Bowers.
I love it. I'm going to go Alec Pierce then. He's going to catch one of those long touchdowns against this woeful Steelers defense that tries to shut down Jonathan Taylor. What you got, Jordan?
You guys made it so nobody picked the running back, so we're going to get the chalk at running back. So I'm going to go with Jalen Naylor. We're going to have as cheapo as it gets for the lock players and see what the Sims puts out, because I think wide receiver 3s and 2s have kind of killed the Lions, and I think he's going to be the one that catches a long touchdown today. I also laddered, I think, over on Sharpside earlier in the week over like 100 or 80 yards receiving.
I love that TJ is plugging in. Yeah, I don't think the settings are super duper important, but of course, if you're using SimLabs, you can see all these settings that TJ is large field. I think is fine. Yeah.
Locking 150 lineups of Jalen Naylor is exactly what you. That's how Neil builds. That's how Neil does it every weekend.
Exactly.
This is total no line. We have to adjust something. I wasn't seeing what we got going there, but let's see here. I think it's an interesting also way to look at how some teams would go with a bunch of like pretty cheap-ish options. TJ, if you want to work on it and we can chat for a second and answer some questions, I don't mind. So let's do that. We'll answer some questions. TJ will get this SimLab stuff pulled up behind the scenes. Did we mention, Jim asked, did we mention the Chargers, Neil, from a defense perspective? I don't recall. I don't
think we did.
No,
I think they're too owned.
Yeah,
they seem to be the popular spend up option, which is like it's
fine. No,
it's fine. Yeah, you can play them for sure.
Yeah, I think I just like the lesser owned, right? It's like defense ownership.
The mind thing.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Oh, Chris asked about Trey Harris. I'll take this one as the Trey Harris slappy of all Trey Harris slappies. I love him as a football player. I'm very excited for the fact that he's growing from a role perspective, but it's like he's the run blocker. He's playing a lot of snaps, because he's blocking, like he's doing a good job at the thing that they want him to do. It's just not a fantasy friendly role. He's like Mac Hollins and Justin Watson and stuff like that right now. Hopefully long term he can grow into something more. Doesn't mean you can't talk about playing it before you see it. Maybe this is a good week to try to get Trey Harris some targets. I think that's okay. I would really only do that in Justin Herbert stacks. I'm not playing one-off Trey Harris, but I just think it's there's so many good options that like you're probably going to get your 3 Trey Harris targets, and that's about it.
TJ, you can put the Justin Jefferson instead of Jalen Naylor if you really want.
Jalen Naylor broke the Sims. Speaking of the Sims being broken,
they're like, dude, this is not a good lineup. There's thousands of things we simulate here. Don't ever play these 3 for the love.
Alec Pierce, Jalen Naylor, and Brock Bowers. They're like, guys, stop, please.
This is too much,
and that's fair.
It's totally fair. Gadget receiver, wide receiver 3 on a JJ McCarthy offense, and a guy who has scored like 15 fantasy points in the last month. All right, here we go. With Justin Jefferson in place here, we see some of the exposure. I think the quarterback stuff pretty much makes sense, right? It's probably going to play. Can you go to here we go. Perfect.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. So this is beautiful, right? It's going to give you a bunch of the kind of chalky running backs. You see Tracy and Manungai. There is Kareem Hunt on there, but then it's mixing and matching. Obviously, a bunch of Daniel Jones because of Alec Pierce being on the team. Michael Pittman, Lab McConkey. But this is pretty interesting. Wide receivers in the flex because we have a lot of savings. I'm interested to see not a ton of Christian McCaffrey at the top. It does have Rams defense. Maybe I am going to win some money today. Shout out to the Sims. But anything you guys notice, shocking, not shocking, whatever, about some of these top teams?
Brian Thomas. They're just making it the mini. I mean, obviously the mini is fine. It's just like, I'm surprised it didn't try to get to like McCaffrey and go towards Parker Washington or any of the other cheap guys as a mini for that Jaguars Raiders game.
I think it all looks good. I mean, we get the chalky Kamanungai paired up with the not chalky Kareem Hunt. It's kind of a nice mix of like players that are low owned, and then you can just kind of play the chalk around the low owned players. So I think these look like nice lineups.
I do like to look at some of this, like that's what I'll do a lot of the times as a hand builder. It's kind of like what you were talking about, Neil, earlier, with like, I'll put together kind of my hand builds and then I'll be like, oh shoot, every single one of these has like this thing or whatever. So then I'll like just start to play, okay, let's lock Manungai and then like a low own piece or something, right? Like Alec Pierce. And like, how do these lineups start to look? Right. And it's like, I still feel like I'm hand building, but I'm getting it's like enlightening. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like there's things that you just can't when you're clicking the buttons by yourself, right, on your couch or at your computer or whatever. There's just some things that you're going to miss a little bit. If you love Brock Bowers, you love Alec Pierce, right? You love Justin Jefferson, plug those guys in and see what it's going to tell you in terms of like the top tournament lineups. You can tweak it, right? You want CMC instead of Puka, cool, right? Like make a small little pivot. There's easy ways to make pivots on these teams. We do have crunch time coming in here in just a second. Let's go, TJ. If you guys are ready, let's go ahead and bring you guys in, and we can pass that baton here in a second. We broke the Sims, TJ, with our bad plays. That's a pretty GPP Final Takes thing to happen there. The Sims were saying, please God, click some better players in here so we can give you some lineups that are playable. But what are you thinking? What do you think about this slate?
It's fun. Like the biggest thing I was looking at earlier in the week it wasn't difficult finding plays that I like. It was difficult narrowing down the plays that I liked. And so a lot of stuff that I really wanted to get to this week, managed to narrow it down to, I think, like playing 20 entry max, a single entry, and a 3 entry max. And I managed to narrow it down to, I think, 6 QBs, maybe 7 QBs. And that was like as tight as I was able to do it with, because there were so many different stacks I wanted to get to. Running backs, I felt like it was able to keep a really tight pool, but quarterbacks, receivers was just like, I kind of want to play a stack of everybody with a core of like 5 running backs this week.
Britt, what do you think?
I think this week would have been a lot more exciting if we didn't have all these injuries on Friday, and then it would have been a lot more. There would have been a lot more variety of teams. There's some good. I like your Alec Pierce call. That's certainly I got a couple bets on him, a variety of different ways. Love the Colts today. Any part of that Colts offense looks good. Whether it's Pierce or Pittman or low-owned Jonathan Taylor, anything like that looks pretty good to me.
I love it. We will go ahead and get out of you guys' hair here. We ran over a little bit. Apologies, TJ, for that. Thank you for working everything behind the scenes. Of course, as always, I want to make sure to shout out Brit. Check out Brit's stuff over at Scores and Odds, a must-tail for all of that. And these guys will get you all the way up to lock. If we missed your questions, please ask these guys again. They got you taken care of. And we'll see you guys in week 10. Cheers.
All right. Thanks to Neil, Erik, and Jordan for that last hour and the previous show before. Hopefully you guys have been watching all along. Click the like button if you haven't already. I'm Brit Devine here with TJ. We're ready to talk some DFS. I'll mix in some sports bettings too. If you before we even get started here, TJ, maybe you have some of the graphics queued up. You saw them using the SimLabs just before. If you want to get access to Combo Pro, see all the stuff we're using here behind the scenes, whether it's SimLabs, whether it's RotoGrinders, whether it's articles, whether it's Lineup HQ, whatever you want to do here, you can get access to it for just $79.99. That's only $5 more than an NFL DFS monthly subscription. It gets you NBA, PGA, NFL. Baseball's over. The Dodgers beat your Blue Jays there, TJ. Sorry about that. What a World Series that was. But if you're looking to save a couple of bucks, you get your first month of Combo Pro for $79.99. TJ, give me 30 seconds on that World Series. Oh, you're mute.
No, I don't think I will.
Oh man, it's a sore one. I was rooting. No one wants to see the Dodgers win. I was rooting for the Blue Jays personally myself. All right, so we will get into some NFL here. We'll start at the quarterback position. TJ, I'm finding myself, at least from a cash game perspective, really choosing between the two sites, between Patrick Mahomes and Jackson Dart. You've got Mahomes, who's like the higher end version, who without Pacheco is going to be throwing the ball all over the field today. I didn't write it up, but Mahomes' passing attempts looks pretty good to me from a sports betting perspective. You've got Dart, who without Cam Scadaboo might be called on for some more goal line work. The question from that is, if you play Dart and then you play a Giants running back and then you play a Giants tight end, or you're looking at a Giants wide receiver, is how many Giants are too many, which can really get you in trouble if it all doesn't work out for you. We'll talk about that as it goes through here. Basically, from my thoughts from cash, it's Dart and Mahomes. What do your tournament teams look like today towards the top? We've got Caleb Williams coming up as the highest owned quarterback, which is a little surprising to me. I thought it would probably be Mahomes or maybe even Jackson Dart here. They're all basically the same. But what are you doing at the top here, maybe between these top three? And then give me a couple other plays you're looking at. I've got some sleeper quarterbacks from tournaments as well.
Yeah, so I have no Caleb Williams today. Just don't really feel like a ton of need to go there with the high ownership he's getting. That felt like a pretty easy fade for me. And I'm with you on the Mahomes and Jackson Dart from a cash perspective thing. I really did feel like it was a clear Jackson Dart all week long. And then now that we have all of these cheap running backs opened up, I've kind of made the pivot to Patrick Mahomes. But Mahomes, Dart, two of the top tournament quarterbacks as well, I think. A lot of people are going to play Jackson Dart on his own, maybe with one receiver. I think a way to get different with him today is just double or triple stack them. And that'll be a different enough way to get yourself some Jackson Darts. Outside of those guys, I really love Daniel Jones. I think he is in an incredible spot this week against a Pittsburgh pass defense that has been atrocious so far this year, and hopefully a good enough team that they can push back a little bit, actually make Daniel Jones have to throw the ball in the second half. Josh Allen, I'm getting to a ton of in GPPs. We're projecting for less than 5% ownership right now. If that stands, that is just crazy for Josh Allen. He is an incredible, incredible play. My top punt play that I'm getting to, and it's only one of 20 lineups, so it's not I'm getting to him a lot, but it's Geno Smith. If I need to pick like a really cheap QB, I don't mind his stacking partners. Geno's the guy that I'm personally going with. And then the other two guys that I really like for large field GPP is projecting for super low ownership. One, Matthew Stafford. Kyron Williams is projected for a ton of ownership today. I don't think that is good chalk. I am personally fading Kyron Williams, which we will get to at the running back position. But I think a really good way to get some leverage there is play Matthew Stafford, stack him with both Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, and that's going to be a very low-owned double stack today. Probably get the three of those guys for less than 20% combined ownership between them. So really like myself a Matthew Stafford stack today. And then the last one is Jared Goff with Detroit onslaughts. Pair him with Gibbs, pair him with St. Brown, pair him with Williams, pair him with Laporta. But you play all the Lions today, I think they're going to put up a ton of points.
Yeah,
Goff. One more that I forgot about that I do really like for tournaments. Like last week, I was really big on the CJ Stroud stacks, double stacks, because it was such a concentrated stacking partners with no Nico Collins, no Christian Kirk, that we had these two super cheap receivers. And then if we played Stroud with the two cheap receivers, we could do whatever the hell we wanted with the rest of our lineup. That's to me is Trevor Lawrence stacks this week. You play Diami Brown and Parker Washington both together, and you can do absolutely whatever you want with the rest of your lineup.
Yeah, I like the Lawrence call. Anyone against the Raiders is good. You mentioned Goff. Goff is certainly for 2%. Goff at home against the Vikings, who, you think J.J. McCarthy, he can't be as bad as he was, but if he is, I mean, this could be a runaway Lions victory, which is like could be 4 TDs for a guy like Jared Goff at home today. Love him. The other one is Aaron Rodgers. Kind of a way you like Daniel Jones. The Colts defense hasn't been great. The Colts are going to smoke the Steelers today, by the way. The Steelers play up to their opponents. Nonsense that I think that's done. They're too predictable on defense. I don't think they have enough on either side of the ball to really keep pace with the Colts here. The Colts are which is why I like your Daniel Jones. Colts are like the best offense almost in like NFL history right now. They're just absolutely on fire. I don't think the Steelers can stop them at all here. But Rodgers to specifically like a DK Metcalf to a Tyler Warren make a pretty easy double stack with how involved Warren is in the pass game, and then you can run that back with take your pick of a Warren, a Pierce, a Pittman, or even a Jonathan Taylor. If he finds the end zone 2 or 3 times, he's going to end up on a lot of GPP winning lineups. An easy way to get different, I think. And then you can play all the chalk around your Steelers stack. Like you mentioned, even your Colts stack, right? Because Jones isn't owned. No one's really playing Pittman. Outside of Tyler Warren, none of the Colts are really popular today. So those are a couple of things. And I think my ultimate sleeper would probably, I like maybe a Mac Jones. How about that? Everyone's playing Christian McCaffrey, but no one's playing him with Mac Jones. And then you can mix in a Juwan Jennings or a George Kittle would probably be my other one against the Giants. Anything else? The quarterback here, TJ, you wanna get on? There's some Drake May love. Probably not against the Falcons for me. Maybe this is like the one time Drake May doesn't go. But if May does it against the Falcons here, I mean, we've got to consider May. It's so hard to stack with them because they spread the ball around so much.
Sorry, I got a dog going crazy here beside me. Yeah, I don't mind the idea of a May stack. I'm personally not getting there, but no problem with it whatsoever. From a quarterback perspective, just like the last thing I'd want to mention is it's very, very similar on the two sites today. DraftKings, FanDuel at the QB position, not much differentiating them. The only thing I'd say is I do like Trevor Lawrence even more on FanDuel, where he's kind of extra cheap over there.
Yep, he's borderline cash playable over there, but I did not. Trevor Lawrence and cash never really sounds good when you have some really good rushing quarterbacks or Patrick Mahomes. You can even get to reasonably easy today. All right. Like I said at the open of the crunch time, it was going to be a very difficult and spread out week, TJ, heading into Friday morning when all of a sudden we got news of no DeAndre Swift. We got no Travion Henderson got bumped in there. We knew Tyrone Tracy was going to be reasonably chalky, but he's not even touching the top 3 anymore. So let's start with Kyle Monangai, who should have, probably 70% of the backfield touches for the Bears today. And it just so happens to be against the Bengals, quite possibly the worst defense in all aspects in the NFL right now here. We have projected 42.5%. Consider that for, your 5 or 10, or maybe even like the Millie Maker ownership today. Would you be at the field, under the field, over the field? Would you consider locking? He's someone I think you need to be pretty clear on a stand on for large field tournaments. If you're just making like 1 or 2 lineups, you're probably playing them. But if you've got quite a few, what's the portfolio look like for you in your 20? And then how would you handle maybe if you had even more?
Yeah, I have 100% comment on guy. I
Like
just hit the walk button. I played him in every lineup. To me, of that cheap tier of running backs, he's in a clear spot all by himself as the number one. No need to worry about it today. If he gets injured, then wow, today just isn't my day. I'll move on to the next one. But I'm going 100% Monangai today. I just think he is such a great spot. Not only no DeAndre Swift, but no Roshan Johnson either. He should be getting full bell of cow work against the worst defense in the league. I am all aboard the Monangai train today. Outside of him, I would kind of rank the cheap options. Tracy 1, Henderson 2, Kareem Hunt 3. Having said that, Henderson is close enough to Tyrone Tracy that if I genuinely need that $200, I'm just going with Henderson instead of Tracy today. I don't mind that pivot. And then I do find myself getting to, though, if I'm choosing between a Tyler Warren or Brock Bowers or against one of those running backs at flex, I actually think I like, from like a cash perspective, picking one of the running backs better. From a tournament perspective, picking one of those tight end guys better. Christian McCaffrey, the best spend up on the slate. I think if you're choosing between one of him and Jamar Chase, McCaffrey is the one that I would go to. Having said that, I do like the cheap running backs better than the 4 to 5K receiver range. And so I don't hate the idea of fading McCaffrey in a tournament lineup and just going with some of these cheap running backs. I'm really high on Kamani Vidal as well, getting to a bunch of him as much as I can. And then my favorite large field tournament guy and a pivot off of Christian McCaffrey is Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm getting to a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs today. No Bijan Robinson, no Jonathan Taylor. For spend ups, it's just all Gibbs and C-Mac for me.
Yeah, Taylor's expensive everywhere. I do like the Gibbs play. They were on him on the last show. You got to love Gibbs against the Vikings. He's crushed them historically, and I don't know. I think he's going to leave Montgomery in the dust, I think, as the season keeps progressing in terms of market share of touches and fantasy points and all of that stuff. I like that you did McCaffrey over Chase. I would agree with that too. My question for you, do you have take a quick look. Do you have a tournament team without McCaffrey or Jamar Chase?
Yes. Lots.
All right. So you do. That was the question I was going to ask you. So, I think like Chase's volume with Flacco it's literally like unheard of. It's never happened before in the NFL to a wide receiver. And then you've got McCaffrey, who I have the most American dollars I've ever bet on McCaffrey's over rushing yards today. It wasn't like 66 and 67. It's up into the high 70s now. I think I would probably still bet that, but not for as much money. Love his rushing, love his receiving. He's going to get a touchdown, if not 2 today. He's going to go bananas today. So I like him. And I like where you stood on Tracy over Henderson too, just very slightly. I would agree with that as well from a cash game perspective. If I was looking at that, those are my, it's Monangai, McCaffrey, Tracy. On FanDuel, Henderson over Tracy for a cheap play is probably the way I would.
That's what I was going to say too. FanDuel, you reverse it because Tracy is $700 more expensive than Trevion Henderson over there. That $700 is a much bigger difference. So you make the flip there. And then I don't think this player is viable on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, only $4,200 for Brashard Smith in a potential shootout game. I do think he's viable there as well. Your kind of best case scenario that you're hoping for is he's the, 2-minute, 4-minute offense back as well as the third down back. So he's catching a ton of passes throughout this game. And at $4,200, I think that's viable.
There are a lot of running back, I think, tournament plays. It's just like your lineup is going to look so different today if you play Chase Brown or James Cook or even a Josh Jacobs, right? Like Cook, no one's playing Cook, right? Even though he had a huge game because we know KC's run D, but the Bill, it's usually a Josh Allen game, but if it's not, it's going to be a James Cook game. It's pretty easy. One of those two is going to have a big game for the Bills here if this is close. And just playing, a Cook or a Gente who's going to get basically all the work. If you're not playing two of Monangai, Henderson, or Tracy, your lineup's going to look very different. And then also, if you're not spending all the way up to a McCaffrey, your lineup's going to look very different too. So those are a couple of guys I like, along with Jonathan Taylor and Gibbs. And I'm with you, Kyron Williams. Right, they're going to mix in Blake Corum without question in this game. They're very clearly trying to do that, especially when they're coasting. I would be completely with you. Kyron Williams, very well below the field, if not X him out completely, correct?
Yeah, I was hoping he was going to be coming in. Like, he was projecting for much higher ownership earlier in the week. I was hoping he was still going to be above that 20% range.
That's
But
still
even
too much.
still, no Kyron Williams for me. I just think the Rams are going to absolutely pump the Saints today. And so with that being the case, I think that we get a whole lot of Blake Corum, and that probably turns into like a 50-50 like snap share split today because of what the game script is going to turn out to be, I think.
I agree with you. And basically, the second year in a row, Kyron Williams, not a very good actual NFL running back at the metrics. It's working out for fantasy and it's working out for the Rams. But overall, I like you, don't like him too much today. All right, let's go to wide receiver. Generally, if you used to follow my old Millionaire Maker articles, position you don't want to play the most highest owned percentage of is wide receivers. That's generally because we have like a 3K or a 4K or a 5K wide receiver because the pricing's tight that we don't really want to play. TJ, that is not the problem today because all the highest owned wide receivers look pretty good to me between Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra's in a great spot. Brian Thomas without Hunter, can he hang on to the ball? Is he healthy? That's a little interesting. Give me Parker Washington over Brian Thomas, especially with the price savings without question today. How do you break down which of these high-owned, maybe between St. Brown, Nacua, Rice, and Chase? Pretend you don't have the quarterback with these guys in your lineup. Maybe this is the best way to do it. Because obviously, if you're playing Flacco, you're probably going to play Chase. If you're playing Mahomes, you're probably going to play Rice. You get the idea what I'm saying here. If you were just adding one of these guys in, which guy is it? And then if you had to pick a guy that you're not particularly looking to just add in to a lineup, who would it be? Hopefully that makes sense to both you and the viewers.
So my first choice of this group on both sites is going to be Rashee Rice, just because of that cheaper price tag on him. I kind of view these three as almost the same play, but Rice comes at a pretty significant discount on both sites. So he's going to be my top option. Then Jamar Chase is my secondary choice. And that's one of the reasons why I pick Christian McCaffrey and over Jamar Chase is because I actually feel like by getting to some cheap receivers like a Parker Washington, who you mentioned, I'm able to get Christian McCaffrey and Rashee Rice together. It's tougher to do with Jamar Chase, but I can do it with Rashee Rice and feel really good about the rest of my lineup. Puka Nacua is the guy that falls to the wayside for me. Now, I do have some Matthew Stafford stacks. That's where I'm going to be playing Puka Nacua, but I'll be way underweight on him. And I'll be sadly underweight on Amon-Ra St. Brown as well, because I do really love him today. But that's another guy. I'm only playing him in my Goff Detroit onslaughts. That's the only time I'm getting to Amon-Ra St. Brown today. But I do really like him. If I was running 150 lineups, I'd be trying to get to a lot more of him. And I do prefer him straight up over Puka Nacua today. Brian Thomas, I will be underweight on. Jawan Jennings, I will be underweight. DK Metcalf, I'll be underweight. Wan'Dale Robinson, I'll probably be underweight. Same with Lad McConkey. I'm getting a lot to these cheap Jacksonville guys, so Parker Washington, but also De'Ami Brown. I like De'Ami Brown today as well. He's very, very cheap. He was dealing with a little bit of injury stuff last game, but this should be kind of like their main deep threat today. I think he should be on the field for a lot of snaps. I like De'Ami Brown quite a bit today. If you need a cheap punt guy, you can go to somebody like an Olamide Zaccheaus. He's projecting pretty well for his super cheap salary on DraftKings. I personally just didn't feel like I needed to get there because I could go to those Washington guys instead, though.
So for cash, I think for me is pretty clear. Chase is number one for me. The volume he's getting, absolutely unheard of. Getting 15, 20, 25 getting targets like that. It just doesn't happen in the NFL, and he's getting it not just in one game, but multiple games. So he's number one, even if they are short to intermediate targets from Flacco, who's getting the ball out quick. Chase, especially on DraftKings PPR, number one. Very clear number two for me with that price discount, TJ, is your guy, Rashee Rice. Love him. Both sites. Got to try to get them a little harder on FanDuel, I think, than on DraftKings personally today to get a Chase and Rice lineup. The mid-tier FanDuel for cash, you're looking probably at one of the expensive guys, along with maybe like a Parker Washington, a Jacoby Myers. They're $5,300 and $5,400. TJ, on FanDuel, if people are making a choice between Myers and Parker Washington today, do you have a favorite between those two, $100 separating them?
This is per Rappaport, so I don't trust him, but Kareem Hunt and Rashad Smith expected to split carries this week. So again, I do think that Rashad Smith, I do think is an interesting tournament play on DraftKings specifically. I don't know how much of a split that's going to be just because I don't trust Rappaport, but I do still like Rashad Smith in tournaments. And then Aaron Rodgers appears to have suffered some sort of issue with his throwing hand during pregame warmups. So if you're planning on playing a little Aaron Rodgers, maybe keep that in mind a little bit. If you're playing some DK Metcalf, keep that in mind. Follow that story closely on Twitter. Maybe try and find the pregame of that on your TV. But sorry, Britt, what was your question? I got distracted.
I'm looking at it. I'm watching the video of Aaron Rodgers. He's pointing to his throwing ring finger on Twitter. Just something. Oh, Trevor Lawrence dealing with an illness. Expected to start. Where was all this? Earlier in the morning, right? I guess the pregame injury. I guess that does happen on the fly. But yeah, that looks like there's some news. Unless something comes out that says Aaron Rodgers, and if you're I probably not too concerned about that. He's low owned anyway. The only player you're probably that would be of an impact would be him with DK Metcalf stacks, right? So you're probably not on DK Metcalf and cash anyway, so it's more of a tournament play. Unless something more comes out on that or there's something on TV, I wouldn't be too worried about that. Trevor Lawrence illness, does that do anything for you with any of these other, people play sick all the time? Shouldn't affect his status. It says not too concerned about that. Would you downgrade any of these receivers based on an illness? Probably not, right, from the quarterback.
No, not at all. I would be hesitant to roll out DK Metcalf, though.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. That's something we can't really, when we're on the show here, try to get too much on that. But yeah, check on Twitter if you guys wanted to see what we were talking about with Aaron Rodgers. Just stay tuned if any other injury updates come out. All right, so I want to go. Everyone's playing the Parker Washington. Everyone's playing maybe like you mentioned, Zacchaeus. There's a lot of little 4K wide receivers I think are good starting for me. And on the last show, Alec Pierce, without question, is mine. 4 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown or possibly 2 is very, very possible for him today against the Steelers' absolutely horrific defense. And then don't even mention if Aaron Rodgers is somehow inefficient with his finger injury. I mean, this is going to be another Colts absolute blowout in my opinion. There's a couple other cheaper guys. Let me actually pull up DraftKings on what you would be looking at down there. Slayton, 4,100 over Wandale, who's 5,100 and going to be at least half his owned. Slayton, the big play threat. Wandale, he's going to get there through cheat code PPR in the slot with 8 receptions for 75 yards and maybe a touchdown. But Slayton get there on 3 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown. He's an interesting cheap play to me. Anything else? Jawan Jennings, he's cheap, but he's going to be reasonably owned, so I didn't really put him in. And then the other guy, 3,900, DK from the Titans, looks like he's probably overtaking Eric Ayomanor as basically the lead target for whatever that's worth in the Titans offense. The Titans offense having a little signs of life, still nothing I'm really too interested in. I do love the Chargers to absolutely smoke them in this game, but DK at 3,900, if he gets 7 for 70 and somehow finds the end zone, that's going to play at 3,900 today. So those are a couple of the other cheap plays I'm looking at, TJ.
Yeah, I'm not getting to anybody outside of in the 3K range outside of the Jacksonville guys. I'm just taking big stand today on Diami Brown, on Parker Washington, playing as much of both of those guys as I can. And then just in that low 4K range, my favorite is Alec Pierce. I like him a lot tonight. I think he's going to catch a long touchdown, followed by Darius Slayton and Jawan Jennings. I do like both of those guys today as well. And then I didn't get there, but I just have a feeling Darnell Mooney is going to have a really big day after letting everybody down last week.
Yeah, when he was the chalk. And then hard to play Drake London with Darnell Mooney. Pitts is a nice you're needing a good tight end on FanDuel to save some money. Pitts, we'll talk about tight end, but he's very interesting on FanDuel at 5,100 today. All right, speaking of tight ends, let's jump over there. Theo Johnson. All right, this is a conundrum I was saying, right? We've got Jackson Dart, we've got Tyrone Tracy, we've got Theo Johnson. These guys are all topping the ownership marks. What can go wrong? You add in Wandale Robinson as a possible cash game play too. What can go wrong playing all these Giants, TJ? So where are we at with Theo Johnson today? Tucker Kraft, the absolute insane tight end one production that he's getting here. Still reasonably priced on FanDuel. A little tough, always tougher to get an expensive tight end on DraftKings. Would you rather have a Bowers, a Kittle, a Kraft, a Warren? Would you go with a Theo Johnson? If I'm playing in cash, it's probably Theo because that gets you, it gets you a McCaffrey, it gets you a Chase, it gets you a Rice, it gets you like the absolute nut difference makers of who we think can have these humongous games today, which and still get a reasonable performance out of Theo Johnson. But if Brock Bowers at 5K has a Brock Bowers of 2024, right? He's way too cheap at 5K. If George Kittle comes out and goes bananas, he's way too cheap. And we know Kraft has major upside in a tight end funnel matchup against the Panthers. Warren against the Steelers. How are you playing this position?
Yeah, this is kind of a three-headed monster for me. It's Theo Johnson if you need to go cheap, and I do like him more on FanDuel where there's a bigger difference between him and the big guns. But on DraftKings, Brock Bowers is 5K, and he's finally healthy. Play as much Brock Bowers as possible. Tyler Warren gets this incredible matchup against a Pittsburgh team that just got gashed by Tucker Kraft. Tyler Warren and Brock Bowers in basically every lineup for me. I have Theo Johnson in my Jackson Dart stacks. I have a couple George Kittle lineups in Mahomes stacks. Other than that, it's Tyler Warren, Brock Bowers, every single lineup for me.
All right. So real quick, I have done some digging on Aaron Rodgers. So he hurt his pinky on a snap from the center. I have multiple people on Twitter I found close to the field saying everything looks fine with him throwing. I took his normal reps according to a couple inside reporters and everything like that. I have whatever cause for concern that we brought up maybe 5 minutes ago, I think is lessened for me, TJ, with the Aaron Rodgers thing. Everything seems okay with him. So if someone was planning on him or using DK Metcalf, I'm not going to worry about that. Just wanted to bring that up because that is kind of a big player on the slate today. I like Theo Cash. Bowers on DraftKings is certainly viable too. I'd probably play Pitts over Theo on FanDuel if that got you an extra Rashee Rice, an extra Jamar Chase. It got you a Christian McCaffrey. It got you a Patrick Mahomes. It got you one of the elite defenses. Pitts is a little bit cheaper if that's the concession you have to make to play Pitts over Theo. And I even think some projection systems have Pitts straight up as a better play than Theo, and it'd be hard to argue with that. Pitts has been reasonably solid. There's been some guys in and out of the lineup over there that may have affected it. But I think Pitts on FanDuel is certainly viable.
I'm much lower on Pitts personally. Like if you really need, I think Theo is a much, much better play than Pitts with Daniel Bellinger being out. Theo Johnson should just be on the field 100% of the time. And if I do really need that $200 and I need a pivot, I prefer Juwan Johnson over Kyle Pitts.
All right. The other guy I like is Colston Loveland, who is basically taken over for Cole Kmet as the tight end one. And the absolute best tight end matchup you can have is the Bengals. Not only is it for Kyle Monangai, it's for everybody on the field because the Bengals absolutely stink on defense, and they're going to be even worse today with a couple key players out. Colston Loveland, reasonably cheap price, like him as basically a dart throw. You're trying to find the end zone for cheap today. Could certainly find his way into the end zone. Anything else, or you want to hit on a couple defenses and start taking some questions, CJ?
Yeah, let's hit on a couple defenses. One thing I'll say with Loveland is I worry a little bit because Kmet got hurt 2 weeks ago. Last week he didn't play. This week he's supposedly back at 100%. And so I don't know that we're going to see the same unleashed Colston Loveland that we have in the past couple weeks. But switching over to the defense play, I think there's some great spots to get different here because I hate all the chalk defenses. Chargers, defense, Detroit is good, but I don't want to play them at that ownership. And then Cincinnati, no, thank you. And so,
what is with Cincinnati? I don't get Cincinnati's ownership at all today.
No, me neither. Well, there's just not many cheap options. So it's like, I guess that's just been the cheap one people have chosen. But if I need a full out punt, I would prefer Vegas. If I'm going a little bit higher and I need someone just still cheap, but a little bit higher, it would be the Texans for me. But my three favorites are going to be Denver, who I'm just getting to a ton of, the Rams, if I can afford them. And then again, if I can afford them, the Packers are the teams that I'm going to the most at the defense today.
Would you, if you had to sacrifice one of McCaffrey, Chase, or Rice to play one of the premier defenses, would you, if like that was the only thing you really wanted to do to your lineup, would you sacrifice one of those three guys to go down a tier in whatever player to play one of the top defenses today?
From a cash perspective, no, I would not. I would just pick the random cheap defense. From a tournament perspective, yeah, I would bump myself down to Jahmyr Gibbs because I love him so much for tournaments, and I would get rid of McCaffrey, go Gibbs instead, and bump up to a defense I like better.
All right, I like that. Yeah, the Texans. Texans are. What were you going to say?
I forgot to say Jaguars. I said like my 3 favorite defenses, and then I forgot to bring up the Jags. But it's the Jags, the Rams, and the Broncos.
All right. I mentioned the Texans. I'm staring at the Texans on my DraftKings cash game lineup right now. I mean, the Broncos haven't, outside of playing the Cowboys, haven't really done anything all season. And they had that wonderful game against the Giants in the fourth quarter. I mean, the Texans defense is for real. They're at home here against Bo Nix and the Broncos. I think they're a very fine mid-tier play, and 100 out of 100 times for what, like $300 or $400 on DraftKings. I mean, you couldn't pay me to click the Bengals on a cash game on DraftKings today. And if it really seems like people are going to be doing that, I play the Raiders for cheaper or go up to the Texans if you're sort of in that mid-tier today.
Texans are the cheapest defense I have tonight, and I do have them a lot too.
All right, so there's some of that. Let's get some questions. I'll go to YouTube. I can also pull up the live stream chat from the RotoGrinders Discord if you have any questions on that. Let's see. I'm in both right now.
I do recommend, if you're on StreamYard, just hitting that little comments tab and looking at that instead of the actual YouTube chat, because the bots have been going crazy. And I've been doing my best to get rid of them, but on YouTube, it doesn't actually, it just still has all these tabs popped up there, but on StreamYard, you don't have to worry about it. It gets rid of them.
All right. Yeah. If you're curating them for us, that's even better here. So let's see. Shiv Daddy wants to know, again, guys, you can also go to the live stream chat if you want to forego YouTube. The RotoGrinders Discord, you can link it up. It's free. It doesn't cost anything, and you can talk to us in there. Texas or Jags D. So straight up, this is from Shiv Daddy. It's without a question to me. The Texans are one of my favorite defenses of the week. Even against with the Jaguars against the Raiders, I think I would still take the Texans there. You got a preference?
Definitely Jaguars. I like the Texans a lot too, but if I can afford the Jaguars, it's them.
All right, this is a 3-for from Sid. It's a tight end defense. Warren and Giants, Pitts and Rams, or Kittle Texans. FanDuel single or FanDuel tournament for a lot of money.
I would probably do Warren Giants.
I don't know. I think the Giants get let up a lot to today.
But what if they block a punt for a touchdown? That's all.
Sure, yeah.
It's so random that to me, Warren is a big of an upgrade over the other two. That Warren is worth it.
All right, Mac Jones or Dart? So Jones is probably the other cheap quarterback on DraftKings that can enter some consideration, but it's definitely Jackson Dart for me. Dart's headlining my cash game on DraftKings right now.
Yeah, me too.
All right, thoughts on the Chargers? So Justin Herbert and Kamani Vidal can both have big games. The problem with the Chargers is they have 4 guys that can all have 100 yards and a touchdown. Problem. Maybe not Keenan Allen 100 yards, but he can siphon off a touchdown and 6 or 7 receptions. What do we do with this Chargers passing game and these teams that are like this, where I wrote today, I'm on the Chargers. Their receiving core has to be considered one of the best in the league right now because everyone can produce on any given week. It's very hard to use for DFS purposes right now.
Yeah, the only Charger I'm getting to at all is Kamani Vidal. I just don't really have any interest in getting to those receivers today for that exact reason you mentioned. If one of them is out, they become one of my favorite stacks. If nobody's out, I just don't want to get there because I don't want to have to guess.
It's me, Breezy. You want to know Henderson or Tracy for cash? So on DraftKings for me, I have Tracy over Henderson because it's $200, and I think Tracy's role is definitely more secure. We know the Patriots don't like Henderson. They're going to be forced to use him, but they brought up a couple of backups. They're talking those guys up too. You don't really know. We think it's going to be Henderson. If Henderson plays well, he should get the majority of the work, but we don't know that. Where we know Tyrone Tracy is going to get the work, and he can catch the ball too, and you can catch the ball against the 49ers out of the backfield too. That flips on FanDuel because there's a big price difference on FanDuel for me, TJ. So my FanDuel cash team has Henderson, even though I want to play Tracy. that I think it's $700 on FanDuel to get to Henderson. And I'm taking the savings so I can play a couple other big names. Does that make sense to you?
Yep, agreed with you there 100%. The one thing I'd say, like from a DraftKings perspective, is it is Tracy over Henderson, but if that $200 is the difference between the Bengals defense and the Texans defense, then play Henderson with the Texans defense. Like if you can use that $200 to upgrade somewhere else, then it's not a big enough difference between Tracy and Henderson that I wouldn't just take the upgrade and go Henderson. But if there's nothing else you could change, then yeah, go Tracy for sure.
All right, a couple questions have come in from Discord. Beaner wants to know quarterback for FanDuel today in tournaments. You mentioned at the top of the show, TJ, it's pretty similar pricing. Guys you like on DraftKings are generally going to be what you like on FanDuel as well. Maybe you can give a guy like a Trevor Lawrence a little bit of a bump on FanDuel because he's so cheap. But if you're playing a tournament over on FanDuel, factor in whatever you want. Who are a couple of your favorites there today?
Top tier, I really like Josh Allen for low ownership. Second tier, Daniel Jones projecting for sub 5% ownership on FanDuel. Love the Indianapolis stacks today. And then if I got to go cheaper, Jackson Dart. If I got to go even cheaper, Trevor Lawrence.
What are you playing with Josh Allen? What do those look like for you? Are you running him naked? You playing him? Probably the only guy I'd have interest in would be a Shakir, or even running him with James Cook.
I am going just Khalil Shakir, and then usually actually two Kansas City players on the other side with Rashee Rice and either Kareem Hunt or Rashard Smith.
All right. Adunze, this is on FanDuel. Adunze and the Colts defense, or Brian Thomas and the Rams defense. I mean, that's got to be Thomas and the Rams defense. As much as I think Adunze over Thomas, but the difference in Rams defense, I think today is just it's too high to pass up for that.
Yeah, and I actually like Thomas over Adunze too.
Okay. New generation. He's got a DraftKings tournament question. Ashton Genty, so a low-owned workhorse running back, Packers defense, or your boy Jahmyr Gibbs and the Raiders defense?
Gibbs and Raiders.
Yes, I would do that as well. Mike wants to know FanDuel cash, Lions D and Stephon Diggs, or Houston D and Brian Thomas Jr. I would take Houston. Well, actually, I don't know. I'm not on. It's so hard for me to pinpoint where the New England passing game goes on a week-to-week basis. I feel comfortable playing Texans D and Brian Thomas. Where do you sit on that?
Yeah, same page for me as well.
Lions D could eat two here. There's a lot of good defensive plays today. Let's go back, see if we can get a couple YouTube. FanDuel cash, Laporta or Jawan Johnson. These are guys not on my FanDuel cash screen. So for FanDuel cash, I would be looking at guys like a Tucker Kraft. I would be looking at a Theo Johnson at 53. I would be looking at a Kyle Pitts at 5,100. What would you be looking at if you had to pick between Laporta or, I'm going to guess, Jawan Johnson?
Yeah, of that two, it's definitely Laporta. I feel like Theo would
maybe
be
it's Theo,
but
it's probably Theo Johnson.
But if you have the 200 and you can afford it, Laporta actually projects better in both the Blitz and RotoGrinders projections than Theo. So Laporta is the answer if you can afford him.
FanDuel tournament, Manangai, or play a similar priced wide receiver and pay up at running back. So it's really dart throws after you get past the Parker Washington, Diami Brown, Jacoby Myers at wide receiver. I would probably play Manangai and try to do something different elsewhere today.
Yeah, I'm Manangai. I'm playing him in every lineup.
FanDuel cash, Jamar Chase with the Cincinnati defense, or Puka with the Raiders defense?
Jamar Chase with the Raiders defense.
Yeah,
so neither of those options. You split it. It's Raiders defense and it's Jamar Chase.
You got to have Jamar Chase, I think, on cash on even on both sides today.
I'd say try and find a way to get up to the Texans instead, but it's Jamar Chase over Puka, and if you have to choose between Bengals or Raiders, it's Raiders.
All right, 40. This will be our last question. Probably won't get it in time. 4,900 to use at running back. Play Monangai at high ownership or Henderson at what? Probably a third of the ownership today. You got him.
Monangai is the guy today. And then other thing, I saw somebody asking about Chase Brown. I think he's viable, but I'm personally not getting there. He falls too low on my list compared to some other guys.
Yeah, the Bengals game plan, assuming Joe Flacco's shoulder doesn't separate during the game, is to throw the ball to Jamar Chase at least 20 times a game. Like, that's literally the game plan going in here. And Chase Brown takes a backseat. He can have a big game, but he's going to need, 13 or 14 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown today with a couple receptions. And that's certainly possible. He's already done it. And he can do it against the Bears, but definitely Chase Brown's kind of like, what would I consider him? Like the workhorse running back that I don't have a lot of interest in today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because he's not a workhorse. If he was a workhorse, I would have a lot of interest in him, but they just don't really ever throw him the ball anymore. He's not on the field for third down. It's Samaje Perine.
Yeah, so, all right, that's going to do it for Crunch Time today. Again, thanks to all the hosts for watching the show or doing all the shows earlier in the day. Thanks to you guys for watching. Click the like button on the way out. I do want to mention we have a 3-day pass promo. If you want to try our NFL DFS tools on the cheap, you can get that whether you want to use the SimLabs, Lineup HQ, whatever you want. It's only $9.99. Probably don't want to use it today, although if you use it today, you get the showdown. You can do the late slate. You can do Monday night. Maybe check that out on like next Friday or something like that, because then you get it for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leading up to everything. Or maybe use it on next Sunday, then you have it for Sunday and Monday. Use it for Monday if you want to play Showdown. You get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe you don't have it for Thursday, but you get what I'm saying. Check it out. 3 days. It's just $9.99. Just make sure you use that strategically. Other than that, TJ, it's been a blast. Apologies about your Blue Jays. I think the whole world, except people in California, and people holding Dodgers tickets, we're rooting for the Blue Jays. I never want to see like they bought their way, obviously, right? I saw something they used like a $400 million pitcher, a $300 million pitcher, a $150 million pitcher, and
they used over like $1.2 billion worth of pitchers in that
it's
game.
Nuts. So I don't like that in baseball. It is the one thing I don't like about baseball, that where the NFL it's a lot more spread out in football because of the salary cap. I wish they would do something about that in baseball. They don't seem to, but your Blue Jays gave it a hell of a run. I'm sure you enjoyed that. It would have been a little sweeter if they capped it off. Other than that, I hope everyone has a good game. Go Kyle Monangai, go Jamar Chase, go Rashee Rice, go cheap running backs, and let's all ride to the end together today. For TJ and everyone else that was on today, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, and we out.